Yeah. So look, yeah,
Oh,
we're live. We are live. Welcome to DPS podcast episode number 34. We're here with, of course, Mr. Gaming Forte, but we got a special guest in the house. I would like you all to give a hearty welcome to Mr. Jeff Grubb from Venture Beat / Games Beat. Jeff, how's it going, man?
That's going great. Thanks for having me on, guys. I'm looking forward to it. It is starting to feel a whole lot like E3 all of a sudden. So yeah, I'm getting excited.
Nice. Hey, I'm definitely excited because we got some fire topics tonight, and I'm definitely interested in hearing your perspective on some things. Because usually I'm just arguing with this other guy over here. I already know what he's going to say half the time, and no, well, 75% of it's wrong, and the other 25% you kind of just luck into the truth. So I just kind of want a different perspective for once, just a little bit. But yeah, We first, Jeff, what you been up to? Tell us how you been and what you've been playing over the past week, and then Forte, you can let us know what you've been playing too.
Yeah, what have I been doing? Let's see. I did download Mass Effect Legendary Edition last night finally, and played a little bit of that, and I was enjoying Mass Effect 1. I think that it looks good enough for me, and that's kind of what I was hoping for. I didn't have high expectations for this. I think it was hard to get the pulse on how much work they really did on Mass Effect 1 to get it into a good situation. But I'm definitely in the mind space.
I have to interrupt you for one quick moment.
Please.
We have to settle something. You're real quick, just to make sure that they get a pulse on the room. Mass Effect 1 or Mass Effect 2?
only one answer.
This question, huh? Man, people have been for me. It's Mass Effect 2, but I like Mass 1 a whole lot too.
Right answer. Okay, that's all I need to hear. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, I know it's, but that I just started that basically. I haven't had a lot of time this week. It's been busy. Yeah, there's a lot of other stuff going on, but I'm like at a point where I'm like I started it up. It looked good enough, and I'm like, yes, I will be playing these games right now because it's kind of I'm right in the mood for that. I love the Mass Effect games. I didn't play them until Mass Effect 2 came out. I started Mass Effect 1 like right before that. But then, leading into 3, I was very much into the series. It was just a great sci-fi trilogy with a lot of great ideas, really good settings, really great characters, and I'm ready to dive back into that. But other than that, it's just kind of tinkering around on some. I got that Power Wash simulator. I thought, can I talk about it? Yeah, I think I could talk about it a little bit.
Power Wash simulator?
Yeah, you saw the gifts going around or you didn't, and it's exactly what it sounds like. You get a power washer and you power wash things for money, and then you could buy better power washers and better nozzles and stuff like that, and then power wash even better. It's just exactly what it sounds like. But if you ever watch like power washing videos on YouTube, it's very satisfying to like see them go away in these perfectly like sharp razor edges as the water shoots out and like with so much pressure that it could rip your skin off or something like that. It's really satisfying to do that to dirt on all these gunky things in this video game. It's not it's a game of the year material. It is just kind of a fun distraction, but for what it is, I'm having a good time with it. But that does it for me in terms of games.
Cool. Real quick, I have the PC building simulator, and I mean, it was like on sale on Steam. You know how Steam
Do they have a
are.
simulator for everything?
That's what I was about to say. I feel like there's a simulator for everything. We got a lawnmower simulator coming out. It looks like they got ray trace lawnmowers in there or something. I mean, it looked crazy. But I played the PC building simulator, and the way it kind of starts is you're a guy who's like a IT tech guy, and you took over your uncle's IT business, IT repair, computer repair business, and he really kind of really stepped in it, and you're behind with all these orders, and you just basically you're just like taking the computers. Some of them you're just getting spyware and viruses off of, and the others you actually are like replacing GPUs and other stuff, and you get to have like a fake computer in there that you can play your own music from, and you can just build computers and fix computers, and it was just so satisfying to play that. I feel like that's really like where that the actual like move is for those kind of games. The actual like zen for those kind of games is just satisfying to actually do this.
It feels like you have
to do the actual work yourself. You can just
it feels like you are truly enjoying yourself more than you need to with these simulator games, sir.
I only played
it's
one.
The truth though. Yeah, I'll say that they are totally dead games. They're the kinds of things where a dad goes and becomes a buff about the Civil War or something like that, and you're like, how does a person decide to do that? But it's the same thing with simulator games. How does a person decide, like, oh, I'm going to play 1,000 hours of trucking simulator and just driving a truck across the country back and forth, and that'd be my zen, or like Flight Sim. Flight Sim has a similar sort of audience, and it really is just about the act of doing a job well and getting to understand something and feeling like you're accomplishing stuff, even if it's small, menial tasks. There's our brain really likes that. The human really likes being confronted with problems that it already knows the solutions to. If like at work, we are at our happiest when someone comes in with something and says, "Hey, can you fix this?" and you know the answer. That's when you're happiest at your job, apparently, according to some research. And I think these simulator games tap into that same vein in our brains. And I'm into a few of them. I'm not into like all of them. Like if it has simulator on it, I'm not going to try it automatically. But I'm definitely into like the trucking side of stuff. I mean, I love Snow Runner and Mud Runner in those games. And yeah, I just really jive with them trying to actually simulate real world physics of mud and snow. And yeah, that's totally my jam. And it is exactly that Zen attitude you're talking about.
Yeah, man. Like, look, Forte, you have been going on and on about your lawn for like the past 2 weeks.
It's been longer. You
need to play Lawnmower Simulator when it comes
Never
out.
get high on your own supply.
I think you probably will finally find something that will, get you off of Destiny. You
do realize that they made that game off of my lawn, right?
Okay, stop. I think you're going a little too far.
I'm just a fairway Forte. Remember,
I mean, I did see a picture of your lawn.
It's exquisite. It's exquisite.
Yeah, I'm glad you corrected that word because you did not say exquisite the first time.
Okay, whatever. It wouldn't be. Like you said, once again, it wouldn't be this show.
It did look good. It did look good.
And that was before I edged it. So just imagine if after I edged it, what it looks like.
Man, you really
listen. I don't know where I don't know where this love for this law came from, because he even asked me. He was like, "Yo, are you out here taking pH levels of your grass?" I said, "Yes, I am. Yes, I am." I spent $280 on my grass in the last week. It's bad, bro. It's bad.
Quick, let me shout out some people in the chat. What's up, Mr. X Bot? He was here first. Appreciate you, man. Miss you dies a lot. What's up, bro? Good to see you again. Spider13 says, "Yo, what's up, Spider?" Jay the Destroyer is in the house. What's up, man? Hustle and motivate. Glad to see you as well. Ricky says, "Where's Bald Jeff?" I guess that's a inside.
That's Mike Minotti. That's my co-host. Because in the last year I've gotten like all the followers, so a lot of people come on our show for me, and then I think Mike is way more charismatic than me, but people still kind of like, oh yeah, he's clearly more personable than Jeff, but Jeff somehow has a bigger audience, so they call him Bald Jeff to kind of mess with him or something like that. It's I like it. I don't mind. It doesn't bother me because I'm not.
I'm not the bold one. We got Maple Mizuyaki in the house. Says here to bother Jeff. Jacob Bogdanov says he was told to come bother Jeff. It looks like somebody said to come in here and bother you, man.
Yes, I told people on my feed. Yeah, come bother me. I want to have some people mess with me in chat. That sounds like fun.
Sounds good, man.
Always a good time.
What's up to all you guys? Hope you guys are having a good time and are enjoying the show so far. Forte, what you been up to over the past, besides taking pictures of your lawn and measuring the length of each blade of grass? What
cutting it individually with scissors? Yeah.
No, we ain't got that. We ain't got that deep into it yet, but
yes. No, it sounds like you
he's
got
on that
it in
spectrum.
mind.
He's on that spectrum. Yeah.
I am, man. It's addictive, man. It's like, how you just find that second thing that you just love to do. Like, right. 3 hours outside on my grass yesterday. It was ridiculous, but it was fun though. It's like each individual blade is a child growing up, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Wow, I have never seen anyone describe grass like that.
Listen, it's a lot of grass, and they're all individuals, and they're onto themselves. You have to take care of each of them individually to make sure that they live long, healthy, spring and summer cycles, because they're only here for so long.
All right,
but
that's just weird, man. I'm gonna need you.
Listen, I'm just trying to go along with it as long as you keep bringing. Listen, y'all do realize every time y'all bring this lawn stuff up, I'm just gonna go
deeper.
Okay,
I'm just gonna go deeper.
Okay, tell us what you've been playing lately.
So, well, Outriders is done. I tried jumping back into that, and I was like, yeah, I think this game is done for me. They took stuff away and all this other stuff, so I'm pretty much done with that. Destiny launched a new season. Thank God I didn't work. Thank God I did work on the day that DLC dropped, because it never works on day one. So I was able to play as soon as I got home from work. It didn't have no issues compared to the rest of the community. So I was playing that, and then back and forth with Dealer on NBA 2K, stuff like that. The normal things. And then I'm waiting for Resident Evil, because there was no reason for me to start Resident Evil when I know I'm just gonna no like Mass Effect for the rest of this month when it comes out tonight. So my goal is to beat Mass Effect 1 by the end of this weekend. My goal is to beat Mass Effect 2 by the time my birthday comes around next Thursday. And then the goal is my goal is to be done with the trilogy by the end of the month.
That's aggressive, but I appreciate it though, because I think by the time by the time Ratchet comes out, you're probably not going to play it a lot after that point. I feel like it's good. It's a good, hearty, aggressive schedule. Yeah,
because I want to get every achievement in this game. I want to prove how much I love Matt. I was looking at the achievement list, and I was like, yo, these achievements, especially since they got rid of the multiplayer ones, because there is no multiplayer. So thank you. I did love the multiplayer, but thank you for not having it in there and messing with the achievements. But I just want to get what is it, 2,915 points or some stuff. It's not even an even number. It's like weird, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that tonight, man. Like I said, if it wasn't for this podcast, you already know where we be at.
Yeah, you got the physical copy on Xbox, right? Yeah, I wish, man. Let me complain about something real quick.
That's that PC Masterwork.
I don't understand why, if I have a digital copy of a game, that I have to wait until 11 a.m. the next day to play the game. If it's supposed to go live on the 14th, it should be live for me at 12:01. If I want to stay up till midnight to play this game, I have a copy of the game digitally. Why should I wait? I don't understand what the purpose is. And if it was to be,
Steam, is it the same on Steam? You got to wait till 11.
I don't know, but that has happened on Steam before. When I got Outriders through Steam,
you had to wait.
I had to wait. I couldn't play it at midnight.
Well, guess who doesn't have to wait, Slow-Mo?
You.
And Xbox players that bought it digitally, and PlayStation players that bought it digitally.
No, that's not true, is it?
Yes, it is true. Xbox people can play right at midnight.
I'm getting it through EA Play Plus. Like, why would EA directly be like, no,
listen,
you gotta wait.
I don't know.
You gotta wait for our game.
Listen, Xbox players can play tonight at midnight.
This is terrible. I'm really disgusted by that, because I want to play it so bad.
Maybe because they said you're not really paying for the game, because you got a subscription service that you paid for, and they like, man, you ain't give us $70 for this game. We just gonna make y'all wait.
But I've been giving you like $15 over the course of a number of months. I think that would probably
you probably
exactly
didn't.
what they want to see.
You probably
exactly
didn't.
What they
you probably
want.
Didn't do that. You probably just.
I did
1 month, and did you do the whole year? You ain't do the whole year like I did.
Man, when I turn on these sub services, I literally. Hey, here's a great
You
example.
save money slow mo when you do it. It's only $100 for the year versus if you do
you're
it.
not using it like that.
Yeah, but how many games came out? How many games? What are you gonna play Battlefield? Hold on. Hold on. Question. Are you gonna play Battlefield?
I'm trying to tell you why. Can you wait for a second? Okay,
yeah,
look.
To the excuse. Go ahead.
I have Crunchyroll.
Yes.
Forte, I've been meaning to cancel Crunchyroll for 3 years now. I keep forgetting.
I was trying to figure out why you said it like you have a disease. Forte, I have Crunchyroll. Like that, I was like, what? Why, man? That's serious. And it turns out it is serious. You spent a lot of money on it.
Yeah, I think I may have turned on Crunchyroll like twice in the past 3 years, and every time I turn it on, I go find the one TV show I want to watch. I watch like half an episode, and I go, why do I have this? I'm gonna cancel this, and then I forget. And then like there's like an 8 month.
Then you talk to Luca, and Luca gets you hooked on something else, and then you keep it for another.
No, this is nothing. I had it before Luca talked about Crunchyroll. It's not about that. This is just about me not turning off the subscription services that I have. I'm telling you, I got HBO Max, I got Hulu, I got Netflix, I got Amazon Video, I have I got some other ones that I don't even. Of course, I got Disney Plus, but like I have them all. Once I'm signed,
the worst ones are like the channels on Amazon Prime Video because you'll forget about those ones easily. The like Shudder for $5 a month, and I do have the PBS Kids Video through Prime Video, and I'm glad that I use that one a lot. But like if I wasn't using it a lot, I totally would have forgot about it by now. I would have just been paying $5 a month without even realizing it for a very long time.
Yeah, I think the only thing I actually canceled was Paramount Plus, only because I found it easier to access those TV shows through Amazon Video, and so I just resub to it through Amazon Video, and now I get it through there because the Paramount Plus app is just terrible. It's absolutely garbage. But I know, look, we're super way off topic. Let me real quick. I'll talk.
Let me answer the question though. You know, so are you getting Battlefield? Are you gonna play Battlefield when it comes out?
Yeah, I mean, I got EA Play Plus. Absolutely, I'm going to play Battlefield. That's a bet.
But like I said, once again, why not just pay the 100, which is less than the price of Mass Effect and Battlefield together, and you have it for the whole year?
This goes back to me telling you about how forgetful I am, and that I've thought about that before.
It's a year. You're paying a one lump sum.
The amount of effort it takes me to change that.
Yeah, it does sound like a lot of work.
It's too much work, man. It's just too much. Like my
thumbs. It's a busy man.
My thumbs on the phone. All that tippity tapping. And it's too much. Shout out to Dirt Griggity in the house. Dirt, how's it going, man? $5 super chat. He says, "What's up, fellas? Great guest. I'm a big fan of Jeff Grubb. I'm looking forward to the show." Thank you, Dirt.
Which Jeff Grubb? The one with the hair or without?
He's talking about the one with the hair, man. But yeah, shout out to Dirt. Great podcast. We Bleed Green on Mondays. I think they go live at 7:30 or 8. Somewhere in that time period. Mondays are a haze to me. I just turn it on when I see it.
Listen,
shout out to Dirt, man.
It's kind of crazy. It's crazy when you think about Dirt Green. We Bleed Green, amazing show. But Jeff, have you ever just thought about how many podcasts there actually are on YouTube when it comes to
it's really occurred to me recently because I've been invited on a lot of them, and then you start realizing, man, there's a kind of a bunch overlapping, all talking about games. A lot of them talking about the same. Like, there's like a lot of Xbox podcasts I didn't realize until very recently. And a lot of them do very well. But I mean, and I guess I haven't looked. I don't think there's quite as many PlayStation podcasts, but I think the PlayStation community likes having just one guy talking to the screen. Like, that's a thing that in the PlayStation community, which I guess it's a podcast, but there is a lot out there, a lot of content to consume. And, a lot of it happens because we are at the beginning of a generation. People are very excited. People have spent a lot of money on hardware. And so when there's not a lot of games, they sort of want to keep that excitement going. One way to do that is go start a podcast to keep talking about it. And I appreciate that. They put in the effort. A lot of times it's going to pay off. But I think once we get to the other side of this E3, I will be interested to see a lot of those podcasts continue to keep going and stuff like that, because it's a tough game, it's a tough racket. But I've definitely noticed there are a lot of them out there.
Yeah. Forte, did you finish telling everyone what you've been playing?
Yeah, I told
besides your grass. And
McGrath. Yeah. I played Gears High Buster. I literally beat the.
No, okay. There's a story here. We have to tell the story. But here's the story.
You tell the story. Tell the story.
So the gameplay that you guys are watching now is me playing. A shout out to Sir Taz. He's in the chat. Me playing Gears Hive Busters with Taz, and I had played this already, which is why when you're looking at my gameplay, you aren't seeing any achievements popping. I've already played through it. It's a great DLC, great expansion to the Gears 5. If you haven't played it yet and you have Gears Pass Ultimate, I don't know what you're doing with your life. You need to go spend the 3 hours it would take you to play through this and just enjoy yourself. But anyway, so Taz is like, I need somebody to play with. I'm like, cool, I got you, man. Let's do it. So we're playing through the game, and we get to the end. And I think we were in Xbox Live chat, and then Forte pops in. He's completely uninvited, just pops into the chat. Hey guys, what you up to? What you guys doing? We're playing High Busters. He's like, all right, I'm joining. Now, meanwhile, Taz is telling me that he's getting rare achievements for like the simplest things. Like, we're at chapter 3. We open the door. Rare achievement. Door open. Like, what? Like, we have to open this door to even get to the next part of the story. Like, is nobody playing this? I don't get it. Forte comes in. At that time, we were actually fighting the end boss of the entire thing. He comes in, pops all these rare achievements. Oh, I beat Gears High Busters. I'm like, Forte, come on, man. You literally have been here for 5 seconds. Like, stop. Like, you have to play through this whole thing. Is this? And I told him I play through it with him. Will we actually play it? Who knows? That's up to him.
No, we are going to play it. We have to play
Forte, when you said you beat Hive Busters, this is what you meant.
Yeah, I was just joking around, but yeah,
okay. I beat. You lied. It's basically.
I did lie. You lied. Yeah, I did lie. I did. Well, technically, I did beat it. I did see credits roll.
That's fair. That's true. So you could review it, man. You should go review it. That's this guy see credits, right?
I can definitely review it and tell you how the end boss looks.
That's what a video game is. Just seeing credits, man. You're good.
The game looks great. I tell you, that one area that I played, that one little kill zone area with the bird, amazing. 10 out of 10.
Good looking game.
Overstay its welcome. Yeah,
I can definitely tell you that is one of the best looking games that Xbox got.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I'll real quick talk about what I've been playing. I have been playing a little bit of Outriders. I think I'm finally starting to let it go. It's finally starting to get that loot shooter addiction that I'm stuck to. I'm finally starting to go. I think I'm about done. So I've been playing that. I've been playing Trails of Cold Steel 1, of course, Persona 5 Strikers. And also, I actually went back to Rogue Company a little bit last night and actually had a little bit of fun because I wasn't dealing with a cheater every other match. So I appreciate that. I don't know if that's High Red Studios finally getting on the ball and taking care of the cheaters or what. But what I'm super excited about is what I will be playing tomorrow. And what that is Mass Effect Legendary Edition. So, Jeff, you said that you have already started playing. When did you start playing it?
Yesterday, last night. Yeah, I got back a bit earlier in the week. Finally got some time last night to install it, and I started playing on the Xbox. And yeah, I'm excited to play through it again.
Nice. So you started with Mass Effect 1. Can you tell the major differences between 1 and the original Mass Effect 1 and Legendary Edition? Because I know it's still the same Unreal Engine 3, so there's only so much that they can do. But what were the major differences that you saw?
Yeah, so I when I was getting the Xbox Series X and S for review pretty early on, one of the games I did install at that time was Mass Effect and Mass Effect 2, and I just started up Mass Effect 1, just kind of trying to see it. It was that auto HDR, so I was like, I'm going to check this out. It'll be good for some some B-roll in my review or whatever. So I'd seen it recently, and I think compared to that, I think it is a pretty significant upgrade. I think it looks pretty good. And I would say just like Visually, I think if you are Digital Foundry, you're going to look at this and you're going to have a lot to say in ways that it's just kind of like, okay, they spruce it up here or there. Here are the obvious like work that they put into these assets or whatever. But if you are just kicking back on your couch and ready to play a Mass Effect game, I think in general you're probably going to say this does look like a game that came out like early on the Xbox 360, but with that context in mind, it does look, it looks fine. I'll say, I think it looks fine. I also think it feels fairly modern. Like it doesn't feel that old anymore, but I'm not far into it. So maybe that over time, I won't feel that same way, but they adjust like the leveling curve and things like that. So it's going to take some time to fully get like a grasp on how this has changed overall. And while I liked Mass Effect, like when it came out and I really played it a lot, I am not one of these Mass Effect fans that has like played it every couple of months since it came out and will be able to tell you every facet of how it's different. But for my purposes, I'm really happy with this. It's more than anything, it's a good excuse to play Mass Effect again. And then alongside that, they didn't do anything to sort of mess that up. I think that's kind of what I was hoping they would clear. As long as they did those things, like give me a good reason again, and don't make it like a depressing thing where it's obvious that you didn't put a lot of work into it, and it just bums me out to play it, which is like something that happened with Warcraft 3 Remastered, whatever, from Activision last year or the year before that.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, that was really depressing, and like no one feels good about that. No one at Activision feels good. No fans feel good about that thing, and really, it was kind of just a negative experience overall. Like, don't do at least you don't have to do Blue Point remake. That's fine. I get you're not going to do that. Just don't bum me out when I go to play. It's not. So far, I'm really enjoying it. I think it looks good.
Nice. I know Forte, you haven't quite played it yet, but just real quick, let's talk about how. Well, you already talked about how what you plan on doing with it. What is the I guess part of this trilogy that you're most excited to play?
Actually, as much as Mass Effect 2 is the greatest game ever made, but Mass Effect 1 is the one I'm looking forward to most because I want to see
the changes.
I want to see the changes. Plus, I want to see, because the thing of, as much as we give ME1 a lot of crap, it was a great game. It just had flawed mechanics that held it back, and with them changing a lot of the stuff over to the Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3 type gameplay, it has an opportunity to really truly shine. Now, I don't know how that story is going to hold up when it comes to the end protagonist and everything that's going on. I think it was still a strong point of the game. It just wasn't as great as the second one was to me. But I'm just looking forward to the differences that we're going to see. I want to see what it feels like to walk through the station to see walls that were there before and walls not there anymore. So I want to go on the elevator and not feel like I went to the bathroom and came back and I'm still on it.
Man, those are all the things. Rides were like 3 minutes long.
You're right, crazy. Exactly. I don't want to go through the codex and wait for the text to load. That's what I'm looking forward to. So, and I'm also looking forward to the fact that, I might actually land on a planet and it might actually be something there. You never know.
I haven't seen that yet, because like I always laugh at like all these games are amazing. This is like when people among the Mass Effect fans argue about which is better, and they go in on one of those games in the trilogy. This is like, don't take it as like the game is bad or anything. It's just people just trying to do some one-upsmanship basically. But I like to like go in on the way all the planets in Mass Effect 1 look exactly the same. All same. Like barren, like wastelands. It's essentially the moon with like a different color palette for each one. Like this one's orange and this one's, and then every now and then, like for the ones that are like where there is an actual story there for it, like Vermeer, that you'll actually get like an actual planet where it looks like different than any of the other ones. But the maps look like something that someone created for Atari 2600, and on those planets there's just like this blobs all over the place, and you put your cursor over it. Oh, that's supposed to be the mercenary base. I'm like, how? It's like a big orange, like there's like 6 pixels here. Like, what is that? So I'm interested in seeing how they change that, because I think a lot of what they did, because this game came out so long ago on, and I think a lot of what they did had to do with not having the hardware available to do more. Like like we were talking about the walls that they put up in certain areas of, I think in, was it Nuvaria? I think Nuvaria may have been the plan.
I think it was Nuvaria.
Yeah, but like certain areas where they do this now on Switch too. Like a lot of companies that are port games that are typically on Xbox or PlayStation would port the game to Switch, and they'll do stuff like this. But they put a wall up in a big area so that you don't have to render what's behind that wall. And that way it will be a little bit easier on the hardware that's already overtaxed as it is. And that's what they were doing for Mass Effect 1. But now that these games are coming out, even on last gen consoles, which are like far more advanced than what the game originally came out on, they didn't have to do that. So they took those walls down. So things look a little different. I think the one thing that I am most intrigued about is I want to feel how the gameplay is now with Mass Effect 1. I want to, because they talked so much, and I saw like this whole laundry list of improvements they did to the gunplay, which was atrocious. And part of the reason why so many people who used to go back to the first game, like I would be like, I don't want to do these side quests. I just want to get through this as quickly as possible, all the main missions, and get to Mass Effect 2 and 3, because the gameplay is painful at times, and I just want to see it be a lot more in line with 2 and 3. But maybe that's just me.
The thing I was thinking is, and I don't know if it was you or someone else I was having this conversation with. The funny thing is, the people that play this game that never played it, it's a good chance. Like I was talking to, it was actually Attic I was talking, because he never played them. And I said, there's a chance that people might say Mass Effect 3 is the best version of the game because they don't have any, they don't have that nostalgic that we have when it comes to the series as a whole. So, and let's be for real, Mass Effect 3 plays the best out of all three of them.
Yes.
And it has a really, really, it's an action game. It's like literally everything is already all the theatrics is out the way, the world building's out the way, all the character development's out the way. It's literally an action movie that we start with this happening, it ends with this happening, and there could be a chance that a lot of people out there that play it say, I like Mass Effect 3 more than anything, because they don't have any idea of what the game actually ended like the first time, which is kind of what threw a lot of the hardcore fans into pissed them off mostly. So it's a good chance that it might be a lot of people that say 3 is probably the best game that they played, which would be weird to hear.
That's definitely a possibility. I think it might be a possibility simply because.
Oh yeah, you're welcome, Slimo.
Stop it. Newer gamers to this series aren't going to be let down with all of the promise and the marketing that we got when the games were coming out. Like we were told, it's your story. It's your
every choice you make in Mass Effect 1 is going to matter in Mass Effect 3. Yeah. They don't have
3 colors, right? And so,
and I think your point about like I think younger players coming to this for the first time and liking like the most polished one the most is something we've seen before with like Star Wars. Like younger people tend to like Return of the Jedi more than even Empire Strikes Back. Even though Star Wars fans that grew up through that time were like, no, Empire Strikes Back is the best. But like Return of the Jedi is really polished, and the end fight scene is like really, really slick, and it's technically impressive to this day. And that stuff goes a long way when you're just sort of absorbing this stuff for the first time and you haven't spent years thinking about it. And so, yeah, I think there's a chance that we're going to hear quite a bit of that regarding Mass Effect 3.
Yeah, and I think that just that lack of disappointment from kind of almost the community hyping themselves up. I can't wait to see how my story ends. I can't wait to see how all of my choices have culminated over a number of playthroughs and years all come out in the end. And it's like, it's 3 colors.
The bloods. Listen, those three colors actually affected me at the end though, man. I ain't gonna lie. I had to have a conversation. I had to call people. My brother had it was like what people don't know is, I'm not even gonna say it because people gonna play the game, but when you make the decision isn't automatically like you just press the button and it happens. It kind of is like this build up to it. So I picked the thing and nothing happened, and I was like, wait a minute, am I doing this right? So I pulled the trigger again and nothing happened. I was like, no. I was like, I'm not supposed to do this. So I called my brother on the phone because he had already beat it, and I was like, yo, bro, what did you do? What decision did you make? He was like, yo, man, I did this. I was like, man, I literally was having anxiety thinking about because this is like you said, this is like, at this point, I'm at about 110, 115 hours in when it comes to the whole trilogy. And you're talking about from beginning to end, this one decision that you are about to make literally is what was supposed to be your legacy in the game. Like, what was your decision? And I was like, I sat there for like 20 minutes at that, those 3 different colors making a decision before I decided to do it. So I think for a lot of people, their experience is going to be kind of crazy if they never went through it before.
Yeah. I mean, it's I think it's probably going to be it's going to be interesting seeing some people. I think probably who haven't played it before still find some portions of it dated and be like, I can't get with this, man. Did you see those animations, man? Did you see Did you see some of the like little things that now you see that people have, or what developers have found a way around to make things simpler or easier for the gamer that just weren't present back then? And so
I think the opposite might happen a little bit where you're right. If people are making a comparison to Naughty Dog games and stuff like that, yeah, it's going to look old and the animations are stiff. But if you compare it to like modern BioWare games, what's the one with the Iron Man suits? Why can't I remember the name of it? Anthem. Thank you. Compare it to Anthem, honestly, the animations are going to look more lively than that. The Anthem didn't have any animations at all. Like, you go through the world and people are just standing around. You're going to go with Mass Effect. You're going to go in a nightclub. And people are dancing and moving around and like connect and like talking to one another, and it's going to feel like a living world compared to what we're doing with the Frostbite engine. And I think that the hope, like, people kind of feel nostalgia for this sort of what feels like a more living world compared to the slick looking visuals of a Frostbite engine game, and yet very sterile because it doesn't have all that fluid animation. And EA sees the response to that and says, hey, let's lighten up and let our developers use different tech if they want to. But right. Yeah, who knows if that's even on the table, but you would hope so.
Right. Shout out to the Asher Luca, $5 super chat. Appreciate you, Luca. She says, hello, fellas. Mass Effect 2 is the best Mass Effect. Good night. You got no disagreements here, Luca. All 3 of us here are cultured folk, and we all agree that Mass Effect 2 is the best. If you think Mass Effect 1 is, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe you got, you play your games with your feet. And that Mako controlled just fine for you. I don't know. But moving on. We can get into the first topic. Our first topic is kind of an interesting conversation I saw going on Twitter, which I think we can probably really have some really interesting thoughts on, and that is the expectations for Halo Infinite too high? And I bring this up because a good friend of the show, Everborn Saga, shout out to him and his the work he does with his comic series. It's really awesome. You should check it out.
Yes,
but Everborn had a tweet that kind of blew up. Seems like a lot of people agreed. 1,101 likes and quite a few people in the replies and quote retweets disagreeing, but Everborn says Halo Infinite needs to fix climate change and solve world hunger, or it's a flop. Now, as funny as that is, there are a segment of people that do kind of have this sentiment when it comes to Halo Infinite. Like, it needs to be the Halo of all Halos in order to be a success. It needs to be the best Halo that was ever created. And for some people, I think mostly like Halo fans, they don't feel that way. They just feel like, yo, it just needs to be a good Halo. So, Jeff, what do you think about this, man? What are your thoughts on Halo Infinite and its expectations?
Yeah, so I think that it's going to be impossible for Microsoft to manage these expectations. I think no matter what, this launch is going to be painful because it's just not going to live up to it. It is going to be a real game made by real people, and I know we do get games that feel like they are made by elves in outer space with magic, and they come out and they're these perfect diamonds like right away. But Halo is one of these games that is going to have live service components. It's free to play multiplayer, and it's also going to have this big campaign that's trying to pay off for years and years of story. And that's a lot. That's a lot to pull off. And I think, as is maybe typical with these games, it's going to come out and it's going to be it's probably going to have some issues, I think, at launch, and still it's probably still going to have some issues at launch, and that is going to be there's just no way to deal with that blowback. If you're Microsoft, you're going to have to find a way to. My expectation is we're going to get to E3 and they're going to be like, hey, we are working on this game real hard. We are giving you regular updates, but those regular updates that we're giving you are the kinds of things that we can have someone dedicate an afternoon to sit down and write. And it's like, these are reports they're already putting together for their bosses, and they're managing people, so they've already fully understand this stuff. So when they come to you, to the public, and say, here's what's going on with that game, it's not a lot of effort. E3 is a different beast, and that requires like everyone to sort of halt on work and turn their attention toward making something specifically for E3. And I think that there's a strong chance that this game is not in a situation and not in a place where that would be something that Microsoft is going to want to do. And they're going to say, hey, we got to just let 343 continue to work on this game. What can we actually put in front of people? What can we pull together? And so I think it's probably going to be another lackluster showing, and that's just going to cause a lot of problems in terms of the community and the confidence. But maybe it also helps to recalibrate expectations so that if it does launch this holiday, people are like in a more realistic place by that point. I'm not positive. I see the way people react to like tidbits of information and the way that their imaginations run off with them, and things go bad, and gets to a point where like probably even if you have an E3 where you're like, listen, it looked like Halo. It did. It looked like Halo multiplayer. They probably made some improvements to the visuals for the single player campaign, and they'll probably emphasize that stuff. But just because they solved that problem, even if they do solve that problem, just because they did, doesn't mean people won't find other reasons to be just about this game. People have a lot of stuff riding on whether or not this is going to be good, and so people are still going to get in their own head about whether or not this is going to deliver. Mm-hmm. And we're going to get to this holiday, and it's going to be, it'll probably be a very solid game. I don't know if it's going to be Game of the Year material. I mean, of course, who could know at this point? The people making this game would not know. It's not how this is going to come together at the last minute, just like every big game does. But just if I'm just trying to like predict from this point, I don't think it's going to be Game of the Year material, and that's going to be hard for a lot of people. I do think that it's going to be the kind of game where it finds its audience. It'll probably be very solid Halo multiplayer, and that'll give it a foundation to build on top of. And it'll be one of those games where a year later, people will look back at the way that we reacted at launch and be like, wow, we were pretty silly, huh? We were kind of being a bunch of clowns. We should have just relaxed and realized this team was going to keep working on it and keep improving it. And now it's a game I really, really love. Even though I liked it at launch, I now really love it because all of this stuff has been done, and now they're building it alongside the community. But that doesn't mean in the next few months, it's going to get pretty wild, I think, with the way people are going to behave about this game. So I'm not necessarily looking forward to that, but we got past it. And really, Microsoft just needs to get in a place where they really can deliver on these promises. So it still is sort of Microsoft stew that they got to sit in until they can get through this themselves.
Very, very interesting words. Forte, what do you think, man?
Yeah, so there was a reason I saved all of my commentation for today and not on Brap yesterday. I didn't want to have to repeat the same thing and people say you're crazy, Forte, because everybody probably thought I was going to damage control for the game, you know, because I'm a Halo stan and I love Halo to death. But I've been saying this for over, you know, a year, ever since they showed it the first time. It's like, this game was doomed the moment, well, I'm not gonna say doomed, but the perception of this game was doomed the moment people saw it. And they said that we're going to release this game this year. Cause I said right in there, I said, if this game comes out in 2021, you're not gonna get that fresh coat of paint that everybody's going to be expecting from this game, because that was the thing that people talked about the most at the reveal, was the texture qualities and, you know, the overall aesthetic of the game. You know, those are the things that people were really griping on. You know, gameplay is, you know, the gameplay. Me and you, Slow-Mo, both love that gameplay to death. It was like, yo, it's Halo. That's all I really care about. I just want a Halo that plays like Halo. You can add extra functionality to the game to like kind of modernize it a little bit, but you know, ultimately I just want a Halo game, and that's what they gave us in that gameplay, and I was happy about that. But I always just said that, you know, unless they delay this game longer than a year, you're not going to get that overall, you know, sweep over the whole entire game that's going to make a huge difference in 1 year. Now, are there going to be things that's going to like kind of stand out? Yeah, it probably won't have any texture pop-ins and stuff on the map, or if it do, it'll be very. If it does,
after
it'll have
seeing that in the gameplay revealed in a year later, that's still an issue.
Yeah, exactly. They probably won't have. Yeah, they probably won't have stuff like that. They'll have these on you know, the Brute's head and everything. You know, Craig will actually have a makeover, you know, stuff like that. You know, you're going to get all those good things. You're going to get a more polished version of probably multiplayer when it comes from that too, because I think that's going to be the biggest main focus, especially on the release. Now, I think what Jeff said is something that's very interesting, because I think the same way. We've seen a lot of games do this, especially with games that have long arching development cycles when it comes to like the way they're going to bring out the game. You know, Bungie did this with Destiny. You know, they updated the game drastically over the course of the 7 years that it's kind of crazy that game's been out for 7 years, but that game is nowhere near the same game it was from 2013, you know, or even if you go back to 2017 when Destiny 2 launched. Destiny 2 itself has had a couple of major overhauls to the graphical engine and stuff that makes the game just look better. And that's on top of just moving it from, you know, what was it, 1080p to 4K, and now it runs at 60 frames per second everywhere. So I think a lot of these different elements that people are going to be really looking for are going to be something that's going to come with time. I just don't think they're going to be ready at the outset of the game being launched this year. I think they're going to put a lot of their eggs in the multiplayer basket, where that's where the most of their engagement is going to be. And that's probably going to be unfortunate to the people that actually look forward to the single player. I think the single player is going to be complete. I just don't think you're going to have the same single player that you're going to have day one versus what you're going to have in, say, a year and a half to 2 years. Because I think as they flush out and add more areas to the game, as they continue to work on the story elements throughout the game, because they already said they're just going to be adding to it over the course of however long their plan is for this game is going to be. You're going to see old stuff get upgraded that wasn't upgraded before. You know, they're going to, you know, slowly but surely make this whole game a completely different experience for that end user that comes a year and a half to 2 years from now. That person that picks up, maybe if they do, look at that pop in, Jesus Christ. But that pop in was crazy going up the elevator. Yeah. But I think the thing is, the game that people are going to see from a year and a half to probably 2 years from now is going to be a substantially different experience, especially in the single player realm. I think multiplayer is going to be the thing that's going to carry the day for them this holiday. But you'll still get the Halo experience, but I think I'm really going off what they said. Don't expect a lot, because I just don't think they can do a lot in the little bit of time that they given themselves to actually make that happen.
All right, real quick, I'll say my piece on it, then we can kind of dive a little deeper. So when I saw Everborn's question, I replied to him and I told him, for me, what I want, and maybe this is a little bit of lowered expectations that you see from some of the people speaking in the chat, but after 343 taking over for Bungie almost a decade ago, I had high expectations for them living up to Bungie's Halo, which, I mean, Bungie not even that kind of developer like they were back then anymore anyway. But regardless, that was my expectation. And
you had to throw that shot in there, didn't you?
Oh, of course I did. You know, I always got those shots at Destiny, man. But no, they didn't live up to that, and so I'm not I'm not going to pretend like this hasn't been the same 343 that delivered the Halo 4 that had a really good campaign, but literally the worst Halo multiplayer in the entire series with Halo 4. That this isn't the same 343 that delivered Halo Guardians that had really good multiplayer. I would say probably top 3 multiplayer for Halo, but then the worst campaign that the series has ever had. And I'm like, when you are the author of the 2 worst things that have occurred with this series, my expectations go down a bit. And so with this long development cycle, with them about to release the game with a slipspace engine that wasn't complete, like you had said before, when we first saw the gameplay, I was like, all right, well, this looks like the closest I've seen Halo gameplay get to Bungie's Halo that I've ever seen. So I was like, awesome, great, right? But then I'm looking at it, I'm just like, the draw distance is almost non-existent. There's a lot of pop-in. Why is the lighting the way it is? And they had a lot of thoughts on that at that time and said, oh, well, it was just like the positioning of the sun. It's a day-night cycle thing. I'm like, I don't know. Then they come out later and they're like, oh, well, the engine wasn't complete. Here are like pictures of how it looks now with these portions of the engine, the tools for lighting effects and stuff like that in the engine complete. And I'm like, oh, so you were going to release this the way like that? So I'm kind of on the side that if it's the best Halo that 343 has done, okay, good. Because that's better than Guardians, that's better than Halo 4. But as far as Microsoft's expectations are, Xbox Division, or the overall gaming community, as far as what this would actually, what Xbox needs this game to be in Game Pass this fall, I don't think that's good enough. Like, a game that's a mid-80s Metacritic is a good game. But I think that this game, they kind of needed to be more than that for their brand to really be looked at differently when it comes to Xbox Game Studio first party games. Jeff, you were about to say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think you guys are both speaking to a good point about where this franchise is. It is still trying to be the games that Bungie made, and that's a precarious position to be in, because we know that gaming has sort of moved on. We've had multiple different sort of eras of shooter come and go, right? We had since Halo, we've had Call of Duty come and take over, and then we had Battle Royale come and take over. And Battle Royale, Call of Duty has found a way to make Battle Royale work for it, but still, this is a new generation, and so we're like 2 shooter generations removed from Halo's heyday. And taking a year off to work on this game, you get a lot of ideas about where this game could go, but it's not what like Nintendo did when they delayed Breath of the Wild, and they were like, hey, wait, we have a new way of making a Zelda game. We can maybe do this completely different, and maybe we should delay this game for years and come back with what we think will be like the next Zelda, the next step in Zelda. And that is not what this is. This is going to come out, and it is 100% going to be probably at best just more Halo. I think the concerns about like the visuals, I think that they are going to nail the lighting effects, and I think they're going to nail the textures and the pop in, and I bet that stuff in the campaign is going to be pretty good. It's going to be I think that's one of the reasons you bring in the Coalition to help really polish those assets to make it look. It's not going to be as good as Gears in terms of visuals, but it's going to get in that ballpark. I think the issues are going to be, does the multiplayer stand up in this, in a world that has multiple other huge free-to-play shooters that are very mature at this point, shooters that have their huge audience but are constantly vying for more players. This is a Halo multiplayer that's going to have to go up against Fortnite, go against Warzone, Apex Legends, these games that have really found an audience, and those are just the shooters. Like there's other other sorts of live service games that are going to be vying for attention. And if it is just more Halo, that I don't know. I would be worried about it, and I would be worried about showing it like that at E3, because I think that's going to be talk of, hey, that looked like some old Halo, and I think that might be cool for a weekend, and that's going to kind of be where this game's going to be at launch. That doesn't mean it can't change. I do think it will respond. I think the team will respond quickly to input and criticisms and hear where the audience, and like go where the audience wants them to go and make the kind of content that the audience wants. But I think at launch, there's going to be a lot of like, oh, this is what we were waiting for, huh? Like it's going to be that sort of attitude.
Yeah. But Jeff, that point you just made about responding to criticism and giving the audience what they want, but which audience? Because I think
good point.
Is it the Halo community audience? Because we know what they want. They want more of old school Bungie Halo. There's a whole thing. They don't want Sprint. Some of them don't want Sprint. Like Sprint, hello? Like what year is it? You don't want Sprint in the game? But then should they be listening to that audience, or should they be listening to the younger generation? The younger generation of gamers that they kind of really want to kind of cultivate. If you're going to be I think this is the point about Zelda, right? This is the point about Zelda, where like Nintendo took us to where we didn't know we wanted to go. They did go backwards, like with Breath of the Wild. It was recreate Zelda 1 as a modern game. And what would that look, if you were making that game today, what would it look like? And it looks like Breath of the Wild. And by doing that, they were able to win over a huge new audience and satisfy most of the old Zelda fans, and even like the Zelda fans that were complaining at the time. Most of them have come around and now admit that it's a very good game. And so it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of talent. It takes years and years. It takes probably multiple delays like that Zelda went through. If this game, like, I think if they had a bunch of other games ready to go, this game would probably get delayed again, and they probably would try to rethink it. But they are not in that position. They are not in that position at all. They have a lot of studios. People keep pointing this out to me. They have 36 studios or whatever. They're going to have a ton of surprises at E3. And it's just, homie, no, all those studios were busy with other stuff, and they are not in a position to be announcing stuff right now. And you really don't want Microsoft announcing stuff early anymore. They need to get in a position where they have delivered a couple of times before they start making new promises. This is like, we are coming off a generation where they promised stuff like Scalebound when that stuff hadn't even started development. Not really. When they first put that trailer out, it was not in any situation where they should really have been talking about it. They were making promises about a game that was going to change probably multiple times throughout development. And they do this all the time, and they haven't really learned that lesson. And so, yeah, you don't want them promising a bunch of other stuff. And so I think they might realize this, and they're not going to promise a bunch of other stuff right at this moment. They are going to want to deliver, but that means delivering this Halo this holiday, and that means it has to be old Halo. And I think there is, like I said, I think there's going to be a huge audience that is happy with that old Halo and will be satisfied. I do think, though, that the response you hear this holiday the loudest one will be disappointment, I think.
Yeah, I think the same thing. I do want to get these before one disappears on us. We got Stephen Lamb with the $2 super chat says, I'm just here for the Kroger Jason Momoa.
Goddamn right.
That's right. And then we got homeboy Everborn Saga, shout out to you, bro, with the $5 super chat. Do you get the sense that Microsoft prioritized PC for Halo Infinite? Also, was it a fatal flaw to choose a art style that was reminiscent of CE?
Of Combat Evolved. I must just speak for myself. I was against that. I actually like the Halo 4 and Guardians like artistic aesthetic, the more like futuristic look, and not the just straight old school look of the more traditional armor from
They
Combat
took the
Evolved.
flash away from the game.
Yeah, I love the way the Spartan 4s look. I love the way that looked. I had no problem with that whatsoever. Again, this goes to that tug of war they have between the old school Halo guys. It's just like, I just want more of my Halo. That's it. Just give me what I asked for. And their need to kind of usher in games for a newer generation, because those older guys, I mean, we're older. Okay, like, I mean, I hate to break it to you, but you're not going to live forever. So they need to start making games that resonate with a younger audience. And what does that younger audience? I'm not saying straight up go Halo Battle Royale, which that might actually be something that might actually happen sometime in the future. Probably not right away, but I'm fairly certain, just me, theorizing here, that they're probably already thought about that and may do that at some point. But I think that they have to do something to bring in those guys that are big Fortnite fans, and those guys who are big Apex Legends fans. Those younger generation of gamers are going to be around longer than we are, us old guys. So they got to make content that resonates with them, and not just content that resonates with the people that have been here and will continue to be here. Because let's be real, as much as people complain, as much as you see diehard hardcore fans of a particular game complain about that game, they're going to be there day one playing it. I'm done. I can't believe they did this. No, that doesn't, you say all that, and then you're going to buy it day one and be playing it day one, still complaining that they changed your Halo. They're not worried about keeping you. They're going to keep you regardless. They're worried about getting in the newer gamer that like their only exposure to Master Chief is that they saw him doing the emote in Fortnite. Like, they want that guy. They want to get that guy in, Jeff, real quick, someone they're saying
so I turned it down a notch here on the Go XLR. Now I'm talking, I can get pretty loud, and hopefully I'm not clipping anymore, but we'll see.
Okay, sounds good. Hey, chat, let us know if that's good.
Yeah, let me know, please. Yeah.
Cool. Quick question for you guys in regards to this. So, like, let's say
Halo. I did want to answer his second part of that question, though. What do you think about the direction of pretty much only showing PC footage for that game?
Well, that's what they've always done.
Not for all the Halos.
Well, not all the Halos, but this
this regime is only focused on PC when it comes to Halo.
I don't know about they're only focused on PC. What I mean is that
I'm saying ever since Master Chief Collection has went to PC, pretty much all the marketing and everything you've seen for Halo has been on a PC.
Haven't all the games they've shown been PC games? Like, I mean, like when they show you gameplay of a game,
Xbox, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so like that's what they always do. They always show you the game on PC before they show it to you on Xbox. So that I don't think anything else of that. I mean, I'm the guy that's gonna play it on PC anyway. So of course for me this is like, well, I appreciate that. But
playing on both places, man. That's why you have an Xbox and a PC.
It's gonna be crossplay, so I won't need to do that. Thank you, Jemiah Dixon. Appreciate you, bro. Shout out for the $5 super chat. He says Halo doesn't need to cure world hunger, but it should. Halo used to be an event in gaming. Now it's just another games as a service game. I gotta kind of feel Jemiah a little bit there. A great memory for me is when Halo 2 came out, and I went to GameStop to pick up my copy at midnight, and I had like pre-ordered it so early. Back then GameStop was doing like these numbers, so like you would have a number on your receipt, and that number on your receipt would be like 5, 40, 70, 1,000, whatever. But that's your place in line. So when you showed up in line for the game, that they will call like a block of numbers, and that's your time to go up and go get your game. My number was 7. 7. And that game for Halo 2.
Oh yeah.
And I pre-ordered the steel case, the great nice metal steel case with the Halo 2 on it. I had that. I got the poster. I got a whole bunch of other stuff, right? So I showed up super late. I knew I went to that mall that GameStop was at earlier that day. I was in college and I saw people already in line. And I said, you know what? I don't need to do that because I'm number 7. Number 7, baby. So I showed up at 11:55. Get out of my car. I walked past this line of people that were coming outside of the mall. Okay, outside of the mall. Got all the way up to the front. Yeah, I'm number 7. Got my stuff and rolled right on out. And I didn't go to sleep for like 18 hours. I'm telling you, that was Halo 2. And I would never do that now. I'm a 40-year-old man with a wife and kids. Like I can't do that.
You'll do it with your kids when they want to do it.
Right. Yeah, you'll use them as an excuse. Yeah. Oh, you just want to do that? Okay, all right.
Hey, I want to do that. Got you.
But like, I don't see that level of excitement from the generation of gamers that are between 18 and 24 years old, where the age range I was back then, that feel that way about this kind of game. They feel that way, I think, about games like The Last of Us Part 2. They feel that way about just God of War, other titles that I feel kind of like resonate better with the gamer of today. Did want to real quick hit some of these super chats real quick. Brat, Basement Radio Arcade Podcast, Enrique, what's up, bro? He says with the $2 super chat, hey, Slow Mo and Forte, big shout out to Grubb, and shout out to you too, sir. Everborn Saga again with the $5 super chat. The real question is the Halo fan base large enough to sustain the game long enough for it to evolve, grow back to prominence?
If they add that battle royale in there, which I think it actually probably could,
but it's not going to be there at launch. So
like, is
this going to be a situation where it's kind of like Sea of Thieves, where Sea of Thieves launched with no content? I mean, all you could do was go collect some chickens and collect some treasure on Bare Bones Islands. There was no story. There was really nothing else to do besides fart around with your friends, get drunk, and fall off the boat. And and then, but now if you play Sea of Thieves now, there's like quests, there's multiplayer, there's a lot more there. And I always said about Sea of Thieves, I wish the game would have launched like that. Like the game probably should have just of course, this kind of goes with what Jeff has said about not having enough other content in order to allow games to develop the way they need to. They don't have that now, considering that, well, they do kind of have some of that now because they don't have those games yet. But when you got 23 studios, some of these other games that are being developed aren't going to have that issue. But Halo needs to be good this fall. Like, it needs to be really good this fall. And so if you got a ton of content that you want to have come out for it, where do you get the, like, I don't think they can delay it again. That's just like out of the question at this point.
It's too late for that.
Yeah, you got it.
They already got people excited. They already got people looking forward to the game. Like Jeff said earlier, it's like they kind of put themselves in a bad position because once they announced that it was coming out this year, now they have that on the radar for people to sit there and say, you know, well, we're that's the game that we're looking forward to because that's the first party game that we know is coming this year. Now, we know Microsoft's probably going to have a lot of surprises for people at E3, some stuff that we don't know is coming this year, and there'll be some speculation around that. But Halo is it's that constant thing that we all know is going to be there, and it's just unfortunate that it showed like it showed, and it kind of put them in this position where you're launching a next-gen system, the most powerful console ever made, and you don't have any game to showcase that for an entire calendar year. So Halo's going to get scrutinized just because it's Halo, but it's also going to get scrutinized just because of the promises of what the Xbox Series X is supposed to be. And that may not be fair, but
monster that eats monsters for breakfast, I think.
Exactly. It's not gonna. Yeah, it's not gonna be. It's not fair, but that's kind of the narrative that they spit themselves.
Yeah, exactly. They did say it though, so it's it's not like someone else said about them. Like, yeah, that's console that they're making. It's going to eat monsters for breakfast. Like, no, they said that. So it's like at that point now, you need to back up your talk. You gotta have games that look like, man, I can only really play that either on an Xbox Series X or a PC, and it's just like, but is that really the case when like a game that you've been developing for like 6+ years doesn't look like that? So I didn't want to stay on this too long because we got a number of topics to still get through, but just real quick, for some of the minor questions I wanted to answer in this topic. If Halo Infinite isn't great, what does this mean for Halo's future? Jeff, what do you think?
I don't know, because this is going to be a different sort of horse of a different color and all that, right? It's going to come out as a free-to-play shooter, and that's going to give it some leeway. It's going to give it a whole other sort of vector to come in and try to win people over, and it could be like a Sea of Thieves where in several years, it's just a completely different conversation than what we have at launch. And the launch conversation actually didn't matter all that much because it's a live service game and it is allowed to grow over time and succeed in that way. But I still think it's not great. It's not, and and maybe that's the sort of wake up call that the franchise and Microsoft needs. I think this, if it comes out and it's not great, and it's not great in a way that feels sort of like a permanent mark against the franchise. I would hope that they would reassess how they are even making games over at Microsoft and say, hey, listen, we do have a lot of talented people and we do want them to make games the way that they make games, but maybe on the back half of the development cycle after the prototyping phase, maybe someone at Xbox headquarters should be riding these teams a little bit harder and maybe acting like a Kevin Feige over at Marvel Cinematic Universe over at Marvel, and making sure that these people are meeting a certain level of quality, meeting deadlines, basically someone just to come in and crack the whips. And I know that's immediately going to be associated with crunch and all that stuff, but there is a way to manage these things in a way that is respectful of the employees and yet also makes these games the best that they possibly can be. And I think the one thing, I think Phil Spencer and Microsoft do a lot of stuff that is right and smart and good. And they definitely have the big picture, I think, figured out. I'm not worried about that side of things. The details of making great games, I still don't have the confidence that they are going to do that on a regular basis, even with all these great studios. And that's, if Halo comes out and proves that case once again, it's gonna put a huge dent in people's faith. Like, they have a lot of good news this year, a lot of good news about coming out on Xbox. Not many great games coming out, but the good news makes you feel good about buying the system because you have faith that the future is going to pay off in terms of these games. If that side of the equation falls apart, people could start to feel pretty bummed and start to regret their Xbox purchase that right now they're feeling pretty good about.
Yeah. Well, so with that said, if the game doesn't come out and it's not, if the game comes out and it's not great, what does that mean for 343 Industries?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Forte, what do you think, man?
Yeah, what do you think, Forte?
Ooh. Oh man, 343. Okay, let's keep this one civil. Let's keep this one civil, man. Being a developer is hard. Making games is hard.
Yes.
It's a lot of money, a lot of emotion, a lot of time away from your family for people to basically just tell you you're not doing a great job with something that you're very, very passionate in. And I try to be very aware of that. My problem has always been with 343 is that they try to do too much. It's like, instead of just focus on just the game itself, instead of trying to give you all the bells and whistles. Like, my love of Destiny didn't come because of Destiny. It became because a game called Master Chief Collection that I was highly looking forward to, being a Halo head, was broken on day one. And that was something that, I needed something that would scratch the itch that Halo gave me. And that would happen to be a Destiny game. But 343 didn't give me that. They gave me a game that didn't work. Yeah, it was hard to play with your friends. It was convoluted. It was all over the place. The promise was there. The execution was just lacking. It was just more of like 4 games that worked individually great on their own was completely just bad together.
So what do you think? What do you think they do with 343 then? Is it do they put
they're
Halo
not going to
on
shutter
a different
it?
developer?
No,
and they
no.
Have 343 do something different, or do they change leadership? Because that's what I think they would do.
And the part thing is going to be because it's easier to just like a coach on the football team. It's easier to change the direction of the football team by getting rid of the coach. Than it is to getting rid of the players. Right. So, there's some very talented people over at 343. No one can deny that. Like the issues that people had with Halo Infinite was on the graphical side of it, which is the part I thought I would never ever say about a 343 game. Because guess what? Ever since 343 has had Halo 4, amazing for the 360. Like that looked like it didn't even look like a 360 game. It looked incredible. It looked incredible. It did. Even Halo Guardians looked incredible. It was if you had to say the one thing that 343 was good at was making a good looking game. That's what they were good at. And I'm not trying to say that Halo Infinite didn't look good. It was more the aesthetic that they went with, but the polish that they normally have when they showcase their games, that was lacking, and that was what was missing. And at that point, I kind of was like, all of these different Glassdoor interviews came out talking about the structure and how everything was going on at 343, how you were consistently rotating between temporary and people that were just working on the game, and the main people that were working on the game didn't know what the temporary people were doing because they weren't there throughout the whole development. It was just a whole mess. So at a certain point, it really just comes down to 343 is named after Guilty Spark, and 343 itself as a studio ain't going anywhere, but what happens at the top, does Jason Staten take over the studio? Does Bonnie
Joseph
Ross
Staten?
What did I say? Staten?
You call him Jason Staten. I don't know who Jason Staten is.
Jason Statham, right? Yeah.
Statham. Yeah. Well, it might be. That might be. They go in there with some adrenaline or something, basically.
Yeah. He could make a game. Yeah, crank that thing out.
Yeah, he could definitely with that. But no, I think overall it just comes down to the direction. I think a lot of people are willing to give this another go, just because of the direction that the promise of the direction, but this will be the 3rd Halo game, and if this one doesn't at least quell the thirst of a lot of the Halo community that's out there, or at least, like you say, be the best version of a Halo game they ever made, then the top of the food chain is going to have to come down to the bottom, and someone else is going to have to run that ship, unfortunately.
Grubb, what do you think, man? What do you think about that?
Yeah.
About number 3?
I don't know. I feel like with less than perfect information about the way decisions are made and the way things work, I always feel hesitant about blaming a studio and everyone at a studio. But there's clearly a pattern that's developed here, and I do think the idea is that people like Phil Spencer do give these teams leeway, and he does give them sort of the leash to go out and make the games they want to make. And the other side of the bargain is then they have to deliver on those games, right? And I think that maybe is a choice that Phil Spencer should if this is how it works, and again, maybe this is imperfect information, but if that's how it works, maybe that's something that he should reassess and maybe again put some a strong person in to kind of oversee everyone. And so maybe it should come from, maybe the criticism should be directed on that side of things. But considering that this team has had that leash to make what they want to make, they are putting Xbox in this situation again, where we are talking about possibly having to delay the game again. And you kind of can't do that. And whoever sort of was responsible, whoever's watched that happened on, kind of has to answer to that. But I don't like, I get hesitant because like we're talking about people's jobs and stuff like that. And and honestly, let's let the game come out. Let's see how we feel about it. Let's give it a chance. And if it is disappointing to some people, but overall a lot of people like it, I mean, God, that's better than most of us have ever done with anything we've made in our lives. Yeah. So, like it's a big property worth a lot of money to a huge corporation. The people responsible for it are going to have to answer for whatever happens with it. And I just hope that they can deliver on what they want to deliver, and then I hope they get rewarded if it's good and it lives up to some of this hype. And that would be great. That'd be the ideal situation, and I hope that's what happens.
Yeah, and I think and going off of what you just said about just wanting to drag people through the mud, no one wants to do that, but the biggest thing I will say is even if we don't even put this on 343, because this is a team effort when it comes to 343 and Microsoft themselves, depending on how this game shows out, I think Microsoft definitely, and Xbox as a whole, leadership and all, needs to start taking a heavier look at how hands-on they are with their studios when it comes to the development of these games. Because we don't know what happens behind the scenes when it comes to like these games being shown, but most gamers will tell you that there's no way that they didn't know the state of this game before they showed it. And this is something that could have been avoided by Microsoft if they would have just said, yo, we can't, they would have did the Shuhei Yoshida, this ain't ready. We can't show this.
Right. And I like to avoid the direct comparison to PlayStation because these are different companies that do different things a different way. But like, let's be real. The reason that these PlayStation games feel like they have a little bit of a formula is because, first of all, that formula works, but it's because these developers share information about what works best, and they are all building each other up and making sure they're delivering the best games that they possibly can. And so every Sony game has like a companion character that is really acting as your guide and making sure you never feel lost, so you never get frustrated, but they do it in a really low-key way, so you feel like you're actually guiding them. It's really smartly done, and it's this really effective technique that they use in most of their games now, especially the big third-person ones that feel cinematic, because it enables them to make stuff that's cinematic, but then still make you feel like you are always knowing where you're supposed to be going. And there's an art to that. And figuring that stuff out took a long time, but now every Sony studio does it. And Microsoft just does not feel like it has that same sort of culture happening where every studio is figuring out what's best for them and then sharing that and making sure that all the other studios use that. And maybe this comes back to each studio wanting to have their own identity and wanting to do different things. And that's what gets us Sea of Thieves. And some people are really desperately in love with Sea of Thieves. Yes. And so maybe there's something good to that. Maybe there's something there. But I do think that there is something to be said for making gigantic bets, and if these are your gigantic bets, making sure that you have a culture that finds a way to build each one up using the trials and tribulations of your other studios. That there's a lot of value to that. It's something that probably should be in place if it's not. And looking at it from the outside, it feels like that is something Sony does and Microsoft doesn't, and I think that might be something they should reassess as well.
Real quick, wanted to introduce Enrique from Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. And what's up, Enrique? But before Enrique starts, I did want to just touch on real quick what you guys were saying, and then we can transition to the next topic. Enrique wants to definitely talk about Halo a little bit too. But what you're talking about, Jeff, where they have what they even gave it a label. It's called the limited integration strategy, and they use it with like they started it with Minecraft, and now they do it with all their new developers, where essentially you are still who you are. You make whatever you want to make. If you want to make a Grounded, if you want to make Bleeding Edge, we're cool with that. Make those games, and but we support you. We just direct where those games go. We just direct which platforms those games are on, and they're going to be only the platforms that. And Phil Spencer said this with the Bethesda Roundtable. Only the platforms where Game Pass is present. That's where your games are going to be. That's what they care about. But I agree with you guys. There has to be some level of quality assurance. You have to, you want to make Grounded. Okay, that's cool. It's a survival game. Like, let's make sure that this is something that people want to play. So, like, still take the idea that you have, but let's mold it into something that is actually going to be sustaining and really benefits Game Pass, because that's what we care about. That's our platform. Bleeding Edge. Bleeding Edge needed more time. That was a game that I got in on the beta, and I'm like, okay, so I like the idea here. Here's a hero shooter. It's melee based. It's different than Overwatch because it's mostly focused on that hand-to-hand melee combat. The maps are too big and the characters move too slowly through these big maps. You don't have a lot of characters. You only got 2 modes and you got like 4 maps. At the time when I first played it, I said, oh, well, this is okay for a beta. But then the full game came out and I was like, oh, that was the game. That's all. Like, at some point, like, the Xbox producers have to, and we talked about this with Sea of Thieves a little bit earlier. You don't have enough content here. Let's build on this a little bit more before we come to release. And it's like, it should be coming from them and not from the gaming community once the game is out. Because the way the gaming community is I tried it, it wasn't for me, or it didn't have enough content, or I didn't like XYZ or whatever, and then I'm done, I'm moving on to something else. And when they come out with all that extra stuff later on, hey, it's everything that you said you wanted. We did all that stuff now, but it's a year later and I moved on to something else. And that's as unfortunate as that is, it is the way it is. And so you should have all that stuff before you come out so that there is no, well, I would have stayed with the game, but no, all that stuff that would have been, all those buts and ifs and stuff, all that stuff actually got put into the game because the Xbox leadership, the executives looked at it and said, this is what it's missing. This is what we know our gaming community wants to see in this kind of game. So before it even gets to us, they already took care of it. And I think, Jeff, what you're talking about where their competition seems to nail that, it seems that they ask those questions and get those answers before we even know the game even exists.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's just, it's unfortunate. It seems like they haven't quite got there yet. Enrique, what were your thoughts, man?
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
Oh, no.
Got a bit of a crackle.
Ooh.
You got you might want to
you trying to
turn it off and on.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
Maybe turn off NVIDIA broadcast if you have that going or something.
Yeah. But while he's doing that, do you guys think if this what are the expectations for this game with Game Pass? So if Halo Infinite is a major success, I expect Game Pass to, of course, flourish even further. But if it's not like a great game and it's just another Halo, or it doesn't really drive people to the platform, like, what does that do to Game Pass's growth?
I think if they add a battle pass to it, and they put, because since the multiplayer is free to play,
yeah,
I think the battle pass will be a huge thing. You can get Game Pass and you get the battle pass automatically with your Game Pass subscription. Or you could buy it outright if you just buy the game, or whatever. Well, you won't buy the game because the game's free to play. So I think that's going to be the way I see forward for them. It just really comes down to how they want to implement that. But if there's a battle pass and you add it into Game Pass, people will jump on the Game Pass by the droves because they'll always have. It's pretty much like how Fortnite does it with their VIP pass, because they have one where you get all these extra skins. You get 10,000 V-Bucks, and you get the battle pass every season. So I think Fortnite already shown you the concept. They just need to run through the door with it. Don't take as long as some of these other games do it. Have it set day one of how you're going to do it. They do a really good job in promoting a lot of stuff through Game Pass, especially on the console, when they shows like all the different perks you get with it outside of just the games that you get day and date with the system or with the game itself. So they just really need to hammer that type of stuff in and make sure that Halo has a huge suite of just everything you can do, and everything that you can do in that game is tied into Game Pass.
Gotcha. Enrique, how's your mic now?
Enrique's
Now
in
we
the
don't-
bushes. He's in the
now we got
bushes.
nothing now.
Jeff, what do you think about its impact for Game Pass?
I no, I pretty much agree with Forte. I think that it's going to be, having a battle pass built into Game Pass as an option for those fans that are showing up for Halo. That's going to work really well. I think I guess do we still not really know what the structure of this game is? They call it Halo Infinite. It's not called Halo 6.
I heard it's an ongoing
guess,
game. Like it's going
That's
to
all I
be,
heard.
yeah, like maybe not necessarily Destiny kind of ongoing game, but definitely consistent content or expansions being dropped so that as time goes on, say like 2024, here's the next Halo Infinite expansion coming up kind of stuff. Like that
seasons,
seasons and things like that, yeah.
I think the multiplayer, the PvP will definitely have seasons, and that's going to be where this game is going to kind of live and die on Game Pass. It is those seasons will probably be included with Game Pass, and that will be a great way to keep people in. So yeah, I just in general I agree with Forte's take on it. If it's a great game, I don't know, because the multiplayer being free, even if it's like a great single player campaign alongside that, even if it's a great ongoing game, I think it's still going to move the needle. Some people are still going to want to play it. If they get an Xbox for Christmas, they're going to want to get Game Pass to play Halo. It'll move the needle. But really, people are eventually just going to kind of fall back into that multiplayer, and that'll be where it's at. And as long as the multiplayer is exciting a significant number of people to want to get the battle pass, it'll work.
Cool. Yeah. Enrique, are you there? Still no Enrique. All right, we're gonna move on.
Yep, move on.
We'll get Enrique back in once he gets his mic together. Great topic, guys. I think we absolutely killed this, but I wanted, because we're like an hour and a half in, and we only still on the first topic. Let's move on to Ubisoft
and that's perfect podcast right there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah,
there you go, Enrique. What's up?
Is that
man?
better?
Yeah, much
sounds
better.
good.
You're not transforming on this. What's up, man?
Yeah, I had to figure out how to turn off the NVIDIA thing. I think I heard Grubb say that, like, turn off the NVIDIA codec or something, and I didn't know where it was. I figured it out.
Every time I do a firmware update for my graphics card, I do the custom one, so I don't take in the NVIDIA auto HD audio driver, because all it does is just mess everything up.
Yeah. So I'm glad. Yeah, I just disabled it in Discord. I didn't know where it was. I was like, oh, here it is. So thank you, Grubb, for helping me troubleshoot, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I'm here for you.
I'm still waiting on my refund, though. Still waiting on that refund. Anyhow, I was talking about, I guess you guys were talking about Halo, and just wanted to kind of chime in real quick, because we talked about this on Brap last night. And I just think it's crazy that, like with other, and I use Mario as the example, right? I said this last night, like Master Chief as a character is like, for Xbox is Mario's to Nintendo, right? Like that's Master Chief's their default mascot, I guess, if you want to call him that. It's not Marcus Phoenix. I don't know who else it would be other than those two, but
no, it's just Master Chief.
It's just Master Chief.
Their only really recognizable
Banjo.
icon.
Oh, and Banjo. Yes, Banjo. Banjo might be one. Or if they brought back Conquer, I think Conquer would be a great mascot.
Oh, Conquer would be good.
Yeah, Conquer would be good.
But they actually would have to invest in that, and that they don't seem like where's Banjo? How long have they had Rare, and they have that IP, and they haven't done anything with it whatsoever? Oh, my bad. Go ahead,
I mean, it's just so it's crazy because I think it's just crazy, one, that we're having this conversation about whether or not this game is going to be good. Does it need to be good? Because we don't have that with like Mario Brothers or Super Mario or Mario games. We don't have that with Zelda games. There's been a level of consistency of greatness, if you will, with those games, and those games have been around longer. And when this topic was brought up, kind of in the community, like people were kind of like, well, it doesn't have to be game of the year. It doesn't have to do this. And I'm like, why? Like, how do we get to that point where Halo isn't in a conversation, the game of the year type thing, where, Xbox is talking about, coming out 20 years now.
We got there because Halo 4 and Halo Guardians they had that expectation, and then they didn't live up to it. So that's where the lowered expectations come from. It comes to the fact that we have seen what 343 has done before, and it hasn't been Game of the Year material, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah. I mean, that's a great point. I mean, like, we got here because of 343i, and look, the Halo games have been good that they've made. Like, I'm not going to say they're terrible games. I mean, obviously, if you look at things like Metacritic or OpenCritic, I think Halo 5 was like Metacritic 86 or something, 87, or I don't remember, but anyhow, in the 80s. So, I mean, still a good game, but you got to remember, like, Halo was Game of the Year contender in that conversation, like, before it was even released, when Bungie was working on that franchise, and I just feel like this game, if it's not in the Game of the Year talk, I mean, does it mean it's going to be a terrible game? No, I think most people will probably enjoy it still, but I think having that conversation, I think it's okay to have that conversation of, well, why can't it be in that Game of the Year contender, or that level of quality that we've seen before? Like, I see people kind of pushing back on that when you bring it up, and I think it's okay to have that conversation, because I feel like with other platforms, other consoles, like, when Sony drops a game, the expectation is it's going to be good, and that's it. And I feel like with Halo now, it's like, well, it's going to be okay, or we're talking about Craig, or we're hearing about things internally that are going on at 343i. I'm a little nervous for this game. I'm not sure that it's going to be. I think it might be their worst game from 343i.
Wow.
Oh, Lord. I don't know.
Yeah,
and
worse than Guardians.
I think, and I tell you why. I always feel like where there's smoke, there's fire. And how many other times have we seen issues with games where there's development issues internally, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anthem comes to mind.
Yeah. Anthem. Some great parallels to Anthem. Replacing creative director, the lead director of the studio, and in case of Halo Infinite, replacing that person multiple times.
Exactly, and then I've heard some
engines. We've seen
changing
that.
engines.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mass Effect Andromeda.
Yes, and having
here.
Yeah, and having this ambition, that they had. We heard they were a little bit overly ambitious, and they had to scale things back. It just, and then the Craig thing, and them showing again. And I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here.
Yes, you are.
Okay, maybe I am a little bit Forte, but I think it's telling them. I mean, think about this. Like, this is your Mario. This is the character that is associated with your brand, right? And somehow what they showed last summer was okay to show. Like, someone said, "Hey, you know what? That's fine." That worries me, and I understand it's been a year, and I hope they turn things around. But I got to say, I just have a feeling, and that this might be their worst. This might be 343i's worst.
I appreciate I think right now we are at a point where, in a typical development cycle, these things might be normal. I pointed to God of War recently, where if you watch the documentary, Corey Balrog and everyone else there were convinced the game was terrible up until a few weeks before release. And that's pretty normal, apparently, for development, especially in a big game where you got to kind of wait until those last moments to know if you really got there. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to get there, right? That's the problem. That's what we don't know. Are they going to actually deliver? Are they going to get through this? And that requires having, faith in yourself and confidence and seeing it through. And if that stuff starts to break down, then yeah, the game might break down. I do think it's a good idea to maybe set expectations lower for the game. I don't know how realistic that is for people. And maybe put priming the possibility it's their worst game is a good way of doing that. But I also wouldn't like spiral down into like misery about the possibility for this game, being good. I think there is reason to have some faith. They did delay it. They did see a path forward of making this a better game. I think that in terms of the things that bothered people the last time they showed it, they're definitely going to directly address those concerns in terms of visuals. I just think it's the other side of like, I think it's convincing everyone else. I bet a lot of Halo fans are going to be pretty okay with this when they show it off at E3, and then when it launches, I bet Halo diehards are going to be happy with this. It is just, is that enough anymore? And does it sort of get lost in the ether very quickly a month later because it's just the Halo fans that are happy with it, and it didn't do enough to win over everyone else? That's where I'm concerned. And really, is that like, that's just kind of like where the series is at right now, and that's just kind of typical growing pains. And we point to Zelda, like Zelda had definitely had issues like this, where like it was getting long in the tooth, and they were just releasing the same Zelda over again, and they do a Skyward Sword on a Wii with motion controls, and no one was asking for this, and people did get some anxiety about it, and that led to them completely changing things up. And we might just be getting to that point with Halo, where even if this game comes out and it's a solid Halo, the people that make decisions behind these things will just have to reassess and come back and do it a different way next time, and actually move the series forward, or just let it like wither and become this small little thing to the side and make the next new thing and have someone else replace Halo at Microsoft and Xbox. Maybe that's what needs to happen. But yeah, I get yes, have some concern, have some skepticism about the game. But don't do the downward spiral thing. I don't think we need to say it's definitely going to be like, or not definitely, but I don't think we need to be saying it's going to be the worst game. I guess, if those are your thoughts, I appreciate that. But I think that it's okay to have some hope for the game.
Well, yeah, and I say that because of what we've been seeing or like hearing,
sure.
And some of the
I get that. Yep.
changes with leadership, and I've heard some other things internally that are going on.
Yep,
and it's not good. That's all I can say. But I mean, it's it's just and I'm not trying to sound like doom and gloom. Like I'm just saying, like I just feel
yes,
like
you are.
Well, I mean, I just think that, and I say this could be the worst. I think this might be the worst Halo game for 343. My concern is that, it releases like a Sea of Thieves thing. And me personally, I wouldn't want that from a Halo game. Like, I wouldn't want to wait for a Halo game to be compelling per se, or be enjoyable, at least for me,
I will say this though, and then we can transition on to the next topic, because we're way behind. I just want to.
What topics?
I have topics here, sir.
I didn't mean to hijack the show, guys. I just
it's good. No, because we were already on this topic for forever, which was a great conversation. I don't want to make it seem like it wasn't. That's the reason why.
It's going to be the talk for the next month, so maybe we can revisit it at E3 after E3, definitely. So yeah, but. Yeah, I won't be able to stay. I won't be able to stay here all night with you guys. So yeah, let's hit some of these other topics, because I do want to talk about them. There's some cool stuff to talk about.
Absolutely. Next topic actually is about Ubisoft, and Ubisoft is investing in free-to-play games. So what they did was they kind of came out earlier this week, and it was an investors meeting, and a lot of people who are in the know were in the investors call, and they said that essentially Ubisoft told their investors that they're going to start doing more releases that are free to play games, and there was a little confusion on whether they were going to stop doing as many AAA games. I think they may have said that they weren't going to have the annual 3 to 4 AAA releases, because at one point it was like clockwork. Every year Ubisoft would have 4 AAA games coming. And those games would be like a huge, massive Assassin's Creed game where the map would just scare you with all the icons popping up everywhere, or another Division title, or just whatever, Far Cry 20 or something. And they would have a whole bunch of games coming out every single year, and none of them really seem to be very different from one another. They seem to all kind of use very samey assets, very samey game design. They have been making some changes in the past year due to some other stuff that I don't even want to get into with some of the people that work there. But those people are gone, and those people also were kind of time really hindering the creative freedom of those developers, and therefore now we're starting to see a little bit things that they may try to do things a little bit differently than they were before, which is great. But then if all that is free to play titles, what does that actually look like, and what does that actually mean? I know we've seen some of that already with their announcement of the Division Heartland, which is a free-to-play game, but no one really knows anything else more than that. You can sign up for the beta. Well, I'm not the beta, I'm sorry, but the test that they're doing. There's an NDA involved with that, so you can, and no one that's actually in it can say anything about it, but you can definitely go try it out for them ahead of time, so no one knows if this is like a battle royale, or is it like Division survival mode from the first game that I thought was really amazing, or is it something else? Is it I don't know. I can't think of any other free-to-play games really that it could potentially be, but what do you guys think about their shift towards free-to-play titles, and do you think that this is something that other publishers are going to start doing as well? What do you think, Forte?
Look, man, I think when you look at games like Hyperscape, which might have been the blueprint for something like this, I think that was the start, but I also think if you take games like that, then you also think about games like Assassin's Creed and stuff, like how they had multiplayer components and stuff to like Unity, and they had it in what was the other one that they had it in? Brotherhood had a multiplayer component too. So I think if you think about stuff like that, it might be the point they could be starting to separate some of their games and stuff. Like think about how Division could still have an actual campaign, but then the Dark Zone and stuff like that can be part of a free-to-play version of basically the game, just to get more people into the IP, get people to want to jump in and actually experience some of the stuff that they can actually have, like more progression and stuff inside of a game. I can see them doing a lot of things like that when it comes to this. Plus it also would fit a little bit even more with the whole conversation about how a lot of stuff with Ubisoft and Xbox is trying to play out itself in Game Pass and stuff. Think about
the rumor that
rumors of that. Think about
Ubisoft. Is it Ubisoft Plus? Is that what their
Plus?
Services?
It's Ubisoft Plus. So just think about Ubisoft Plus. Maybe it may not be like, because I think there's some type of validity when it comes to a lot of Ubisoft doing some stuff and putting it in Game Pass when it comes to that. And if they do a lot of free to play stuff, think about how they could be free to play, but all of the benefits of the free to play, just like how we were talking about like Halo having a battle pass, a lot of the benefits that you would get would be inside of Game Pass. If you subscribe to that subscription service, you would automatically get that stuff versus having to buy it out separately. Yeah. That could be another way that they can tie a lot of their free to play stuff into that. Like, you start thinking about games like Rainbow Six and everything, like getting operators and stuff inside the game just because you're a Game Pass subscription member and stuff. That's stuff that you have to pay for separately
on console, but not PC, and here's why. Because
I think this is all
Ubisoft
not
Plus
PC.
is on PC.
It's PC,
right? But it's not on consoles. So
it was just like EA Pro is only on console and not on PC.
Yeah, at least I think that's correct. I maybe someone in the chat.
I think that's right.
No, that is correct. Those versions are that way.
That would allow them a avenue to offer that through Game Pass. Although, I mean, what happens here? Because like with EA Play, there's no additional charge for EA Play through Game Pass. But would that be the same for Ubisoft Plus?
Well, I think it would just be the fact that they're just going to give you access. Like, they'll just give you access to the games and stuff. Like, I don't know if it'll be a full-fledged thing. Maybe the older titles, maybe you'll get like a carbon copy of what EA Play is on Ubisoft Plus. God dang, there's a lot of acronyms that they use in these dang things. But I do think that is something that they could do, because I just feel like the best way to get people into your ecosystem is by giving them something to basically try out. And I think the multiplayer functions or the multiplayer portions of these games are the things that people play the most. They're the things that have the longevity. And then if you want to go and dive deeper into like the story aspects of it, that's where people go play that type of stuff after they do anything else when it comes to that. So I think it just really just comes down to how they want to structure it. But I don't know if that's going to be something that's going to happen anytime soon. Maybe something like next year. I think as of right now, all these companies, they they're trying to recoup as much of this money as possible. So I don't really see them just giving stuff away. Their development cycles are longer than they normally would be at this point due to the world events basically. Mm-hmm. But in general, I think that's going to be the what's at the very end of the tunnel when it comes to what they want to do.
Yeah. Jeff,
the light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah, the light.
Yeah, the light. I couldn't think of the light. The light at the end of the tunnel.
Jeff, do you think Hyperscape is indicative? Yeah, Hyperscape, is that indicative of what we should expect from like these other Ubisoft free-to-play games?
No, I think that this communication to investors that they made here is specifically about moving away from something like Hyperscape and more towards something like the Division Heartland, where So I wrote a story about this and basically. When Ubisoft said this stuff, they weren't saying they were going to make fewer AAA games. They're making 3 to 4 games per year, but that is already fewer than what they were making in the past. They announced that in like 2018 that we're going to make fewer games going forward, and now this is just the other foot sort of coming down, where they're like, okay, we're now making fewer games. Let's really figure out what our free to play strategy looks like, and that free to play strategy is. We are going to make our own Warzone, and it's very important to have your own Apex Legends or Warzone, and it's not something that is Hyperscape. It is something that has sort of this hook into another bigger franchise or something that has established itself, and you can kind of do whatever you need to do with it. And that means, like, if you're Apex Legends, you were Battle Royale, but now all of a sudden, like, you're like CSGO and Valorant, like it has that mode in it, and the Ubisoft just wants something like that, where it is a big free-to-play shooter set in one of its big franchises, and they can just apply whatever shooter model they need to win over the current audience. So as long as it has like its player base that is already bought in, it started buying battle passes, and it started buying cosmetics, those players will keep coming back, or maybe some of them will shift over to a different mode as it gets introduced. But as long as you have one of those, you sort of have you have like the keys to the door to this house with a lot of money in it, and getting that set up is challenging. The other side of it is it's actually not too expensive, which is why all these companies are doing it. They'll keep doing it until one of their efforts pays off. So Hyperscape didn't work. They're going to shift their model. They're going to come up with something a little bit different, something a little bit closer to Warzone, and then they're going to come back and try again. And if that doesn't work, they'll shift it up and they'll try again. And they're just going to keep coming at it, because these, while they are some of the biggest games in the world, actually like prototyping them and coming up with them is relatively inexpensive compared to making a giant AAA blockbuster single player narrative game that also has a multiplayer mode and all this other stuff. So yeah, the like they are big bets, but you actually don't like they're actually going to pay off way more than that. So they're definitely worth it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Enrique, do you expect more major publishers to go this route?
Like kind of what Jeff was saying. I think like it makes sense for them because it's not as expensive to them to make these types of games, or like Jeff said, prototype them compared to like building this big AAA game. And we know those are high risk, high reward per se. And yeah, I think so. I think that's what we're going to see. And I think with the Ubisoft thing, for me, it's like, I guess this means no Splinter Cell. Ever.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And I guess that's probably been the case for some time now.
Hey, probably more Sam Fisher skins.
Yeah, right.
Gonna be drowning in Sam Fisher skins.
Exactly. You see them goggles on everybody, man.
Yep.
I just think, imagine seeing a Division game. Because one, this is being developed by Red Storm Studio, and Red Storm has always been involved in the Division development. They did the Dark Zone. For both Division 1 and 2, they did all the PvP modes. That's their avenue. And so with this, them being the studio doing this, I can really kind of, and maybe this is just me, and me being somewhat of a Division fan, kind of hoping what it would turn out to be. But what if you got kind of like a Warzone kind of mode, but in third person perspective, because Division isn't first person, it's third person, but it's like Warzone where it's a battle royale, but then you got all these abilities, and you have all of the actual like tools and stuff like the seeker mines and the sticky bombs and the turrets and the drones, all that stuff that Division agents have with Shade Tech that makes it unique from other games. And you can be able to like drop down somewhere into a map and you're like finding those, like, so like you don't get to just choose your loadout, you find like those different abilities to use throughout the map. I can see that kind of being something that might actually, especially if they're using it with the Snowdrop engine, which looks amazing, that I can see something that might actually have some potential there.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so third topic is Steam going to consoles. So now this whole thing, right? This whole thing started from an interview that Gabe Newell did. So this
Gabe Newell
in an interview. Who was interviewing him?
I think he was at a college campus.
He was at a high school in New Zealand. Yeah,
it was a high school. I thought it was
at a high school.
Yeah,
I think it might have been even a middle school. Like he's just he's been kicking it in New Zealand since the pandemic started.
Oh, that's right. He
said he ain't coming home.
He ain't coming home. So he's just like over there, just doing whatever he wants. And like if some like middle school invite him, they were young kids, and they were asking him about this, and he was just like, later this year. I'll let you tell it, Slow-Mo. What happened here?
So essentially, he was asked about Steam on consoles, which is kind of like what kind of question is this? But his response was, "You will have a better idea of that by the end of the year." And I'm like, wait, what? Excuse me?
There's actually some substance to this.
Yeah, right. So like greatest question ever, right? Like that was crazy. And I'm like, man, hold up, man. Like, so you're telling me that this might actually happen, that this might actually be something on consoles? So that now I'm thinking, okay, what theories do we have of what this might actually turn out to be? So I'm thinking what's probably going to happen here is they are going to do some kind of deal with Xbox. This is my theory here. They're going to do some kind of deal with Xbox where Game Pass goes on Steam, and then maybe some games that Steam has, or maybe the Steam Index might be something that could be VR compatible to the Xbox. What do you guys think?
I think this is maybe just a slight miscommunication on game. Like, so the kid asked, like, is there a chance of Steam games ending up on console or something along those lines? And then Gabe gave that cagey answer and said, like, you'll hear more about that later this year. And I think it's very easily. I think Gabe easily could have meant that there will be Valve games on console later this year, and that Valve game is probably Half-Life Alyx coming to PlayStation VR. That's something that I think we probably always anticipated happening at some point. And you know, if Sony's going to talk about the next gen PSVR, I think one of the games you have to have there, if you are willing to make this deal at all, is Half-Life Alyx. So I could totally see that being exactly what he meant here, or maybe like a next gen version of Counter-Strike Go on console or something like that. It could just be that simple. But if it is if it is the real deal Steam on console, though, I have no idea what that looks like. It's hard for me to wrap my head around it. We have these companies, Epic and Apple and Microsoft, all in court over the last 2 weeks, arguing about like being able to like lock down their systems and not let other people onto it. And the idea that like one of these companies would give up even a fraction of that space to let in Steam, which is already such a dominant force on PC, just seems like something that would never and could never happen. But who knows? Maybe it's a very specific sort of implementation that I'm just not imaginative enough to figure out. I will say that if this is happening, I don't think it gets announced at E3. I'll say that much.
Does anybody remember Big Picture Mode?
Yeah, I use it all the time on my TV. Guess
what? How about if they just gave you a generic version of Big Picture Mode on your console?
Steam Link, like Steam Link on Xbox or something like that. Yeah.
Exactly. It give you the ability to basically just stream. Well, yeah, Steam Link, especially if you go, since it has an Ethernet connection, you just give it a portal directly to your Steam library. You just log into your Steam account, right through the dashboard, and then you have Steam right there on your system through big picture mode.
Oh yeah, honestly, maybe this is Microsoft making another Azure deal, and that involves you can stream your Steam games on your computer, but you could also stream the Steam games you own on Xbox, and Microsoft's going to help make that happen. And I could see something along those lines.
Yeah, that makes the most sense. I think of any of the theories that I've seen or even created myself, that like this has something to do with xCloud, and that it will make Steam more accessible, like on all devices, maybe like mobile phones look better, and definitely if you want to, even on your Xbox console. So maybe that's where Gabe was kind of going with it, was like, that's kind of in the works, but I can't say anything right now. Yeah. Enrique, what crazy theory you got going on with this?
I just when I read that the Gabe Newell said that, I'm like, what? I was like, he's trolling us. He's in New Zealand.
Yeah, he probably doesn't even know what's going on at Valve right now. He's been in New Zealand for a year and a half. He's like, I don't know what's going on over there. They just keep paying. My bank account's fine. That's all I know.
Exactly. Like he's like, hey, I got paid Friday, so I'm good. Money's good. I'm good. Direct deposit's working. That's all that matters. Look, I don't think it's Steam. Like Jeff was saying, like I don't see how that would work. I think the likelihood, if it's anything, is probably something like Valve related, like Jeff said, maybe some new game, maybe that Valve's working on to come to a console. I think he did say that. I could be wrong, but I feel like he said a while back that Valve is working on a new game. I could be wrong, but I thought I heard that.
Yeah, they are. I think they're working on. I hope it's Left 4 Dead, but I don't think that's it.
That'd be great if it's Left 4 Dead. That'd be amazing.
Turtle Rock ain't the ones making it though.
True. So if it's not Turtle Rock Studio, then it's not Left 4 Dead as far as I'm concerned. But
exactly.
But by the way, I am totally sleeping on Half-Life Alex. I have Oculus Quest 2, and I still haven't played that game.
Oh yeah, you're tripping.
Yeah, I am tripping. Like
what are you doing with your $300 investment, then, sir?
My kids are using Oculus more than I am. To be honest,
kids love that thing, don't they, man? My
oh my
4 and 2 year old, I let him try it once, and every day it's like VR. I'm like, all right, God, you're not. If the cops see me letting a young kid use VR, they're gonna take me away from you.
Jeff, you know what's wild? My dad will come over. My dad's like 72, and he was like, I want to play some VR. Like he loves it. It's wild.
Yep. My dad did it when I first got, because I had the Vive Pre right before it came out, and he was trying it, and the floor like started coming out from underneath him, and he was like, "Whoa!" And I had to like, "Well, okay, just close your eyes. I don't want you to fall down and break your hip." But
yeah, my dad would do some space station simulator where you navigate through the International Space Station, and he was like, "Oh my God," he's like, "This is amazing." And my dad hasn't gamed probably since Nintendo Entertainment System days.
Yep, it's a cool little thing for sure.
I still think, and this is maybe just me kind of theorizing here, but I still think that they want to at least have some kind of presence in VR at some point as far as Xbox is concerned, but they just don't want to do the R&D and actually come up with their own device for it themselves. And so I think almost kind of felt like they're working with Facebook was them trying to get the Oculus on Xbox as like a device that hey, look, it's compatible with Xbox. It's maybe you may have to get a Facebook account for it. Sorry, but like this is a way for us to get VR and not actually have to put like the time into VR, because we really aren't in a place where right now that we can actually support that on the first party level. But then maybe now they could actually do that differently with Valve and with the Index or something. I don't know. I just kind of think that at some point they will want to try to get VR on the platform. It is something that they said they were going to do back before the Xbox One X came out, and then there was some comments from Phil Spencer saying that they didn't think the Xbox community really cared for VR like that. But I think some of maybe this is just a hardcore community thing, but I thought some of the responses disagreeing with Phil may have kind of changed their mind on some things. I don't know. We'll see. But let's get into this last topic, and that's something that's been probably on a lot of people's minds over the past couple of days, is Herman Hulst doing an interview with, was it Wired? I think it was Wired.
Yes,
it's
yes,
Wired. Yes,
Wired.
Yeah.
And in the interview, he says that there are 25 exclusive titles in development.
Yeah, 25 first party PlayStation, like 25 PlayStation Studios first party games. And that's
Did he actually say first party?
Yeah, it's first party specifically, and that doesn't mean every single game is made by a company that PlayStation owns. Because keep in mind,
that's right. Yeah,
that when PlayStation publishes Spider-Man 1 before they owned Insomniac, that was a first party game, even though it was an external studio at that time. So that is what the definition of first party that they are using. That's what they mean. And so they said, I think he also said that a lot of those games are coming from external studios. He also said like almost half are new IP. And the thing I feel like I'm going to say this stuff and I'm going to get hate from the PS fanboys because they want to be hype about this, and I don't blame them. But when companies throw out numbers like this, it's almost always inflated and essentially a lie because you are in your head. I remember EA a few years ago said something like, we got 14 games in the works. And you hear that number and then they're talking to their investors and so they can't lie. But what they really mean is we got like 3 or 4 big games, and the rest of the stuff is stuff that most people aren't going to care about. And now I'm not saying that's exactly what's happening here, but don't get in your head that there are going to be 25 God of Wars. Don't even get in your head there's going to be 25 Returnals. It's probably going to be sort of all over the map. Some of these games you won't care about very much. Some you'll care about a lot.
Some Destruction All-Stars, stuff like that.
Yeah, you're gonna get a few more Destruction All-Stars in there. Absolutely. And so
a few more.
A few more. And so when you see that number, don't get in your head that like it's going to be like nonstop. It's you know what? I think this generation is going to feel a lot like the PS4 generation, the last half of the PS4 generation, where there was a lot of great PS4 first party exclusives coming out, and then we might get a few more from what are essentially these external studios, and it's going to be good. It's going to be just good. But I don't think get in your head like it's going to be so much bigger than it was last generation. I don't think that's necessarily the case.
Oh man, I love that you said that because
I don't, because I know it's gonna get taken. It's gonna get clipped.
It will. I mean, good thing I'm not you, because I pretty much said this yesterday when I was like, they were sitting in a boardroom and they were asking each other, like a couple of old men were asking, it's like, yo, we need to get what's the conversation? We need to get a conversation started. What's something that can grab headlines? And Herman Holtz was like, yo, we could talk about the 25 games that we got being made exclusive by our by first party, games and stuff. And it's like, oh man, 25 games, that sounds huge, and that gets people excited. And guess what happened yesterday when I said that, Jeff Grubb? Oh, Forte, you downplayed it. You doing this?
It's not about what you say; it's how you say it. And the way Jeff just said
it's how Forte said it.
Yeah, it's not how Forte said it.
Like nicer. I don't think it's gonna matter.
Nicer.
I think both are gonna get taken, and the people are gonna run with it. It's not gonna matter.
Exactly.
Jeff, you might get a couple articles tomorrow morning, by the way.
Right, I know, for real, absolutely, yeah. But it's Herman Holtz did say, someone chat points out that like Herman Holtz said it's going to be big and small games from all genres, and yeah, he says that. But what's the headline? It is not 25 games, big and small, from all genres. It is 25 first-party PlayStation exclusives.
Exactly.
Like that, and boy, have I learned in the last month about how people only read the headline and only read the score, and they don't read the contents at all. Frankly, can barely read the contents in a lot of cases, and so like the headline's the thing that they wanted, and it's the thing that they got, and so that's what I'm speaking to. I am speaking to what most people are going to take away from this, and him clarifying it and the contents does not matter. Actually, it is so. Yeah, listen, if you want to be excited about a bunch of PlayStation exclusive coming out, you absolutely should be. It's going to be a good generation with a lot of big games, and if you like those games last gen, you're going to like them this time around. But I just think that big 25 number, you're going to look back in a few years to be like, oh, I guess we got about 3 or 4 games per year, like from first party, and it's okay. We're getting pretty close to that 25 number. I guess if we count that game and that game, okay, yeah. Oh yeah, Destruction All Stars, yeah, like that. It's going to be that sort of thing. But no one's actually going to look back. You just want to be hype right now. And again, I don't blame you. You spend a lot of money on a console. You want to be excited about it. And that's what they're trying to do with this. And it's all fair game. And it's all, they are almost certainly working on 25 games. They're not lying to you. It's just that the headline is going to be slightly misleading for some people is all.
Oh man, I love this. Thank you.
And no,
Jeff, you're a wise man, sir.
It doesn't pay. It doesn't pay. I can tell you that much.
Because my day.
No, because like it's funny. Look, I agree with Jeff. Okay, now when I read the article, right, I was just like, okay, cool. You know, I did see all the headlines on Twitter, and people was like, yeah, 25 exclusives. And I was just like, what? What happened? What's going on? I read the article. I'm like, okay. See, in that 25, I know you got some stuff from Naughty Dog. Well, probably one game from Naughty Dog, you know, depending on how long their development cycles tend to be. You're going to have whatever that Days Gone new IP is that they announced. Well, that not really announced, but kind of came out out of Jason Schrader's article. You're also going to have like Jade Raymond's game, which isn't coming out until like 2028. And you're going to have that Firewalk Studios game, which is supposed to be focusing on esports, but we have no idea what that is, and it probably isn't coming out to 2025. It's going to be a lot of different games, not all coming from the Sony Santa Monica's, the Sucker Punches, I think probably a good portion of them probably will be Insomniac games, because Insomniac seems to
Insomniac's
drop
just killing it. Yes,
yeah, like 2 or 3 games before any of Sony's other first-party studios can drop one. So Insomniac is just amazing, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if like somewhere in there is the Spider-Man 2, a Miles Morales 2, and a Resistance remake, or you know, in addition to the game that we're looking at right now on that I'm running, Ratchet and Clank, which is probably one of the most beautiful looking games I've ever seen, honestly. And just you're gonna get some AAA high quality. This is what I bought my PlayStation for, and then you're gonna get some stuff that's just like, man, that really didn't hit. And it's going to be forgotten in a month, like Destruction All Stars. So
and really, but my take here is really not to necessarily downplay. I remember like this happened with EA, and no one else remembers this because like no one cares when EA says 14 games. But it like really got to me for some reason. I'm like, let me look into this. And when I looked into it, it was like, no, this is like the way that when they say 14 games, it is just almost an outright mistruth, and it is factual, but it's not the truth. And I think that it's going to be more true with PlayStation Studios. And I do think plenty of people who are paying attention do understand what they mean when they say that. But the point of this, I think, was right when Forte says they were in a board meeting and they're like looking for big standout headlines to say and to get like reblogged everywhere. I think it was deliberate, and I think it was smart, and I think I totally respect the move. But yeah, I just don't. If you have it in your head that it's going to be a bigger generation just based on that number than last generation, I would maybe be a little bit more hesitant, maybe a little bit more skeptical. I would just be like, look forward to Ratchet and Clank. It's going to be the best looking game of all time, probably, and look forward to the games that are announced, and then just wait and see what they have. Because I mean, why not? Let's just wait and see.
Resistance 1, 2, and 3 could be 3 of those games.
Okay, well, that's a little bit too crazy for me.
Yeah. So do you guys think that this article came out and Herman Hulst did this interview to kind of counter the narrative that started a few weeks ago that Sony was only focusing on blockbuster titles?
I think so. I think that's part of it. I think like Jeff said, I agree with what Jeff's saying, is that, not all 25 games are going to be like God of War level games. There's going to be like a mix of games. And, like I definitely think the headline's exciting, right? Like I was excited to hear that. Oh, cool. Like 25 games development. That's awesome. I got, it got me thinking that, okay, I'm looking forward to seeing what these games actually turn out to be. But I also know that, not all of them are going to be these big AAA bangers, if you will. But I do think part of that is kind of the narrative of they've been quiet, and you're starting to see them being a little more vocal now, right? And that goes back, I think, a couple weeks ago when they announced the thing with Jade Redmond, and then the partnership with the Bungie developers for I forget the name of the game or the studio. I think it's like a free to play first person shooter that they partnered with the studio for.
Which
it's
go ahead.
No, I forget the name of the studio. It's like ex Bungie guys.
Oh, that's Firewalk. That's Firewalk
one. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
yes,
I don't know if that's first person or not. I don't know what that game is. So I don't think we
don't know much about it.
No, and they announced the game and partnering with Sony all at the same time. And that, we have no idea if it's in pre-production and full-on production. If they go up and drop a trailer next week or in 2 years.
But I bet it's one of those 25 games, though.
It's definitely one of those
25 games. Yeah, but I also think this kind of coincides a little bit with the announcement that with Ratchet and Clank, a lot of the media coverage on that. Some of the previews that are out there. We're watching this gameplay video, and I think that coincides with that announcement with Ratchet and Clank and things like that.
Yeah, it was timed with that, right? Right. Yeah. And I think that's kind of. I mean, this is me just being a cynical games journalist, and if this is the kind of stuff you hate hearing from games journalists, honestly, I don't blame you. I hate thinking this way, but it is the kind of thing where they position Ratchet and Clank as the PlayStation game, and then they say we have 25 PlayStation games coming. That's all. That's all I'm really saying is that it is a deliberate positioning of the facts to make it seem like you could imagine whatever you want in your head, and then people run away and think, hey, I'm going to get 25 in Ratchet and Clanks. They're not saying that. They didn't say that. No, in fact, they very specifically said it's going to be a mix of games. Mm-hmm. But the positioning is deliberate, and that's all. And really, I'm just saying, hey, think about it. And if you're not one of those people who's thinking that, that's great. That's great. But I definitely did hear podcasts this week where it definitely sounded like that was the conversation they were having about PlayStation's future. And so I guess that's where I'm coming from as well. Like I heard those conversations, so I know that people are kind of thinking that way a little bit. And I personally hope it's not 25 Ratchet and Clanks. I do want Sony to do a bunch of weird stuff. And I do hope it's like a lot more Returnals and even a few more Destruction All-Stars. Like maybe one of those will work.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm totally jazzed by this is what they're doing. So, but yeah, I was just kind of speaking to the response that I heard this past week.
I mean, I love Gravity Rush. I thought that was so unique
so good.
and using
the
powers.
Yeah, but
and just
it's not going to be stuff like that, though. That's the thing. Yeah.
I would want the Gravity Rush 3, but yeah.
I know.
Gravity Rush 2 was so good.
Yep, Mike Minotti, my co-host on GameSpeed Decides, the biggest Gravity Rush fan I know, and yeah, he wants more, but it sounds like they will not be doing that sort of thing. It's going to be like at least games that have like seemingly surface level appeal to a global / Western audience. So
so we're
probably
talking
not
more kind of what Firewalk Studios is doing, where there's
exactly.
They even said it that we're focusing on the esports vibe, and to do that, you're doing like a hero shooter or a battle royale or something like that. You're doing that kind of titles where it's easy to get in and out of matches. You die, you lose, you get back into a queue to jump right back in. It's a bunch of players all playing it at once. There's no campaigns, but really the focus is on high speed gameplay and really keeping it up tempo. And then if you die, then you can get it like 3 or 4 matches in really quickly. I think that's kind of like the kind of stuff that they may end up doing. And some of those guys being ex Bungie devs, like you guys said, this probably is a first person shooter kind of game, which I'm all down for because I love that stuff. That's why I got the name of the podcast, Damage for a Second Podcast. This is what we do.
SOCOM confirmed.
See what we say?
I said SOCOM confirmed.
So
yeah, there you go.
Hey, I'll take that too, actually. But I think that's about it. We kind of finally breezed through these topics here. Jeff, really, really awesome to have you aboard.
Oh man, this was great. No, this was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate you guys inviting me on.
Hey, no problem, man. Anytime you want to come back, it is A-OK with us. I'm pretty sure Forte feels the same way. Anytime you are agreeing with him, and he is
more than don't agree with me. Even when he don't agree with me, I love him.
Slomo, I noticed that Forte's in a better mood tonight than last night on Brap.
I know last night he was telling me to shut up and everything. I was just like,
yes,
man,
because yes, because the same thing I just said that Jeff Grubb just said. You told me
he said delivery differently than you. The delivery was different.
It was
Jeff was a little more articulate about it too.
It was far more eloquent. It was far more eloquent.
It was far more eloquent.
He didn't flub a single word.
Listen, I literally just said because I just used the slow old man routine where they were sitting in the boardroom. It's like they're just sitting in the boardroom, just talking
like that. He was like, man, they were just sitting in a boardroom. They was just
that's
like,
what they were doing.
It's how you say things, man. It's how. It's the how, not what, but the how. That's what.
It's the delivery, man.
That's why everybody got on you,
what?
man. That's all. That's all.
But guess what? But guess what? I win anyway. Flawless victory. That's all that matters.
Oh wow! Flawless victory.
All right, let's get on up out of here before Forte pats his own back a little bit more tonight. Jeff, where can the fine people find you, man?
Yeah, Twitter.com/Jeff Grubb. Go in my bio there and click on the link to the Discord. Don't follow me on Twitter. I tweet too much. It's very obnoxious. It's annoying. Don't do it. But if you want to come hang out with me in the Discord, that might be a better place because I'm less annoying there. And yeah, we can talk about games or whatever, and you could get all my links to all my stuff on YouTube or whatever and on GamesBeat. But yeah, that's the best place to hang out with me.
Yeah, I actually have all of Jeff's. I got your YouTube channel and your Twitter link that you tell people don't follow you on. Like I got both of those in the description of the
Thank you so much.
video. No problem. So yeah, definitely check him out. Jeff is a great follow. Definitely do that. Enrique, Mr. Basement Radio Arcade, who is ducking our homie B Money and NBA 2K.
Oh wow! Well,
let everyone know.
Is that backlog getting bigger tonight, Enrique?
Oh yeah, it is a Mass Effect.
3 games deep, huh?
Oh, it's going to be crazy. Yeah, it's nuts. It's a great time to be a gamer. It really is.
Best time to be a gamer because you got all the games that already came out. Now you got new games. Every day's the best day to be a gamer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it really is. I'm just it's a great time. But no, gentlemen, thank you for letting me crash the party here a little bit. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
I'm just a very passionate Halo fan. So anytime Halo comes up, I'm like, want to talk about it.
You're so passionate. For years you were saying they need to just kill the Master Chief.
The Chief.
Like that's how passionate
I don't know.
You
I
are.
I just hey, you know what?
Like I have a long memory, man. Okay.
The villain in James Bond is passionate about killing James Bond, and he's passionate about killing the Master Chief. It's still passion.
Yeah, exactly. It's still passion, right? At the end of the day, it's still passion. But thanks.
I didn't feel that way. But
hey, look, there's a Forte. Hey, look, there's a Forte sighting on the screen right now.
Yeah, this is just when you joined
oh my God.
Gears, like right when we were about to.
The
boss has 40% health. He comes in.
I beat Gears of War.
Oh my God. I loved High Busters, by the way. Great game.
It is awesome.
Yeah, but no, thank you, gentlemen, for having me on. I really appreciate it. Like I said, it's been a little bit of a rough night. We had to take my 2-year-old to get 3 staples in his head. A long story.
Oh no!
Yeah, so I was like, I needed to get my mind somewhere else.
Was it a cheer? She ran into a cheer or something? No,
my 2-year-old hit him with a gardening hoe.
Oh yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it.
Yeah.
No, that's 2-year-olds right there, man. My 2-year-old's in that phase. 3 times today, she hit the 4-year-old in the head with something, and then she hit the 4-year-old in the hand with a maraca. I'm like, why are you so violent? Where'd you get the maraca from?
She playing God of War?
Enrique, in the chat, One Bad Mother says anyone who wants to kill the Master Chief is a Halo fraud. Just want to let you know.
No, that's not. That's called creativity, being creative, thinking outside the box. That's what that is. But no, gentlemen, thank you for having me on. You can catch me. You guys know where to follow me, Brap_podcast on Twitter, and then Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. These fine gentlemen, Gaming Forte Slow-Mo Backslap every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and then Brap Rants every Saturday at 11 a.m. So thanks for having me on. Grubb, always a pleasure talking video games with you. And by the way, love your show on Fridays with Mike and the content you put out on YouTube, man. Great stuff, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm definitely going to be watching, especially like the way you promoted that your show tomorrow in the tweet. It seemed like you about to really burst some bubbles about E3 tomorrow.
Yeah, it's mostly about correcting my own record, making sure that updating information to make sure people are fully on the same page that I am, so that I don't feel like I am misleading people with old information. But yeah, and then it's going to be after this show. It's going to be all sunshines and rainbows about E3. But I wanted to get the bad news out of the way, so we're going to talk about that tomorrow.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. Real quick, you were talking about this on one of your shows recently. People misconstrued or misquote things that you say, and I'm like, yeah, they really do.
It's they don't. A lot of them don't watch the show, and they just see the some people will watch the show and they'll put bullet points on everything they heard, and they will just say like, oh, rumors, Coalition making a Star Wars game, and then Jeff Grubb's name is at the top of that. And I said, yeah, I heard that rumor and I don't believe it, but they don't include the Jeff Grubb doesn't believe it part. And so, and then that post on Reddit gets screenshotted and shared on everyone's Discord and everyone's Twitter pages. And then the next day, like a couple days later, I went, because I'm not on any of these things. I don't see these things happening as they're happening. And then a few days later, I'm looking and I'm like, there are like 5,000 people who believe that I said that there's a Star Wars game being made with the Coalition. This is insane. Yeah, it happens nonstop. I got to figure something out though. I got to maybe just stop talking about that sort of thing unless I know for sure. So got to figure it out.
Yeah. Forte.
Yo, this is a great show, man.
Yeah.
I love the back and forth banter. You know, the one thing I was telling Slow, say, Slow-Mo, listen. I understand that we got Jeff on here. We got to keep the S's of DPS and keep the banter between me and you the same. And I think we accomplished that.
So there's no other way to do it.
There's no other way to do it, man. DPS is always going to be DPS no matter who's here. But Jeff, really, truly appreciate you coming through, man.
Absolutely.
You know, always a fan of everything you do. Always dropping through the live stream scene. And I'm definitely going to be to the market. I definitely want to see the record set straight with a lot of people. But yeah, Gaming Forte everywhere, YouTube, Twitter, Xbox Live, BRAP on Wednesdays, DPS on Thursdays like today. And, you know, daily content coming soon on the channel. And, definitely, we have to get you back on after E3 to see how right we were about all the stuff that we kind of talked about today.
Wait, you said daily content? Like
yeah, I said daily. I said daily content coming soon. You didn't hear the part
every
of coming
day?
soon? Yeah, I'm about to, man. I got to get consistent, man. Got to get consistent.
All about that consistency.
Right. Yeah,
listen, man. Listen, man. I was looking at my subs, and I was like, oh man, there's some people following me, man. I need to step this up. So yeah, got one coming out tomorrow, man. Daily content going forward. I'm holding myself to 30 days for the first 30 days. I got to do it.
Okay. I believe in you.
I believe in you too, man. Look, like at
if
one
Dustin
point
can do it, I can do it.
I got forced to play a game I did not want to play because I bet Forte that he wouldn't do 7 videos in 7 days. And did he do that? He absolutely did.
There it is.
I had a live stream a game that shall not be named.
Balan Wonderworld.
No, it was. Oh no, absolutely. It was grounded. I didn't want to play.
Oh, fair enough.
It was a funny stream though. I got completely bodied and bullied and punked by ants. And a ladybug.
You got him
and a grasshopper. It was pretty funny. But no. Great show, guys. Absolutely. Jeff and Enrique, thank you for coming through. Really
of course,
appreciate it. The chat was awesome. I appreciate all you guys coming through. At over 100 people in the chat live at one point. Really appreciate all the support. Hope you guys continue to come through. And you can find me, of course, here on this channel and on Twitter by the same name. I know some of you are like, yo, like what happened to your uploads? I look, let me I've been working on something, okay? It's a little bit bigger of a video than I normally do. I'm trying to get back to doing not just like talking about gaming news or games that I am interested in. Yeah, and not just talking about like some games that you haven't heard from, but kind of getting into like not necessarily a documentary style of video, but something close to that. And we're kind of working on that about looter shooters and why they may not be very sustainable in the future. You may not see too many of them in the future going forward. But that's
as long as you leave Destiny off this list, we're good because that's a very sustainable game.
Oh my, it's so much. You're gonna be real mad at me. There's a lot of Destiny in this, but no, like I'm still working on that. Hopefully, I will have it out next week. But again, I appreciate you guys coming through. Definitely play Mass Effect Legendary Edition tomorrow if you you got the time, you got a little space in your backlog. Try that out. I know I am. I will probably go live sometime tomorrow too, so come through if you have the free time too. and hope you guys have a great night.
Peace.
All right, peace.
Boom, we're done.